All right, we are live. We are live right now. What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Kava podcast. My name is Will. I am the host of this show. You guys already know who I am. I'm excited today. I am super excited today. I have a very special guest. It's one of our Polynesian sisters all the way from Hawaii. You know, it took me a while to get her to get on the show. It was a battle, but I didn't give up on her, but she's here. She's here today. So I'm very excited for this opportunity. So I'll say to her real quick, thank you for the opportunity. I'm very grateful for your time to come on and be on your show and allow you to talk your story and share it with my audience and my guests. So I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you and happy for you. And I'm very ready for everybody to listen to her life story. Everybody that's watching for the first time, if you're tuning in for the very first time on my show, I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching. I just want to ask you, if you don't mind, show some love and support, like and subscribe to my channel. Everybody that's been watching, showing love and support, been watching all my videos, and showing me so much love and positivity and appreciation. Thank you so much for the love. It actually inspires me to keep doing this. So thank you so much. Mad love, mad respect to everybody. But let's get back to this podcast. I'm excited. Woo! I'm excited. Let's go, baby. Let's go. I'll give the time back to my guest, and then I'll allow her to introduce herself real quick for everybody. Now it's all you. It's all you.
Hi, thank you for having me. I actually really appreciate you being so patient. But my name is Piueti Maka, or Piueti Maka. For those of you who follow me on Instagram, that's where my username comes from, Tu'ulele. But I am a first-year medical student here at the John A. Burns School of Medicine, and I am here kind of just to share my story.
All right, let's go. I love the confidence. I love the confidence. Right. Thank you so much. I want to say one more time, thank you so much for taking the time, very quick for this opportunity. I'm excited to hear your life story, just as well all my guests today that be watching. But I guess let's get it started. So the very first question I'm going to ask you is, how did you grow up?
Yeah. So I grew up here in Oahu in the main city. And I think considering everything that I've gone through, I think I grew up very privileged compared to most. I definitely didn't grow up rich or wealthy in that sense, but I think I grew up very privileged in the family that I'm in and in the environment that I was able to be brought up in. I think it's something that a lot of people know. I went to private school from a young age. And it's something that my dad was very adamant about. He was very invested in education. So everything that we had, he invested it into our education. Not just me, but my siblings, all of us as a whole. I think that even as we struggled, he was about paying our tuition bill. And I think for him, he really set the groundwork for kind of the path that I started on. Sorry, I think I get a little bit emotional every time I talk about my parents. So I try not to get too into it, but
it's fine.
But that's I think the biggest thing. I think when I was probably, I think I want to say like 6 years old, I remember like I was working on a pig farm with my dad on the west side. And then I think like I just remember like getting in the car and he turned to me and he looked and he was like, one day you're going to go to Stanford and one day you're going to go to medical school and you're going to be a doctor. And then I remember at that young age that I was like, okay, I don't really know what you're talking about, but sure, like I'm going to do those things and I didn't go to Stanford, but I did get to medical school. But I think one thing, like from a young age, my dad really spoke life over me. And I think that's one of the things that I really appreciate. I think like he was so good at, even when I didn't know what I was going to do, when I didn't know what I wanted to do or where my life was going, he was like there to just give me something to aim towards. And I think that really started like from a young age when they asked like in school, what do you want to be? And I'm like, I'm going to be a doctor. And like as each level, as I graduate to the next school level, I think like it just started becoming more and more real. And I think a lot of that came from just like the environment of being in a supportive household where my mom every day like was making sure that my life could be easy so that I could just be able to focus on school. Like from a young age, She really helped with like chores around the house. She didn't expect me to do much. And I remember like just being at this age in like, I think like middle school and stuff, and like people start doing more chores around the house and stuff like that. And I think my mom, when she started realizing like how much education can really take a toll on people's like mental health or like things like that, she really started to step in and being like, okay, like here's what you can do, but also like this is what you can do for your school, and like this is how much we expect from you, but you focus on your school. We don't expect you to work right now because like we need you to be able to do as best as you can. And it wasn't always easy, you know, like I think back a lot, just a lot of the sacrifices my parents made from a young
Mhm.
age. It was definitely not easy. And my mom was also like a stay-at-home mom, so we had like a single household person. Um, and I think like from a young age, I also remember like, man, mom, like why don't you go to work? Like you see us struggling, we see us doing like we can't like afford certain things. And I think I didn't understand it then, and like now I'm like so grateful for her wanting to be at home with all of us, because I think it was just like realizing like she needed to be there to help us grow into the people that we needed to be, and just making sure like, okay, you're not going to go out and do like these things because I'm going to be here every day, and being here like to work on like schoolwork with you. I'm going to be there to pick you up every day. I'm going to be there to drop you off, and I'm going to be there, you know, like to just be that parent at home, like while my dad was like working all these crazy hours. And I think like for me it was like, sorry, I don't know why I just get really emotional about my parents, but I think it's just a lot of things that like things that could have made our lives easier in just like certain ways. You know, we didn't need to go to private school. We didn't need to have like a single parent household or single income household, but I think it was just a lot of sacrifices and certain things that made it work eventually. And I think it really culminated in the success of just my siblings and like me.
Yeah.
That was kind of a little bit long-winded, but yeah, that was a little bit of overview of that.
Yeah, so I just want to first and foremost just want to say shout out to your parents. Just want to give a shout out to your parents, show them some love. While they do, I felt, as you were getting emotional, I got, I felt that too, because that's something I always feel when you, one thing I always think about all the time is a sacrifice of the people who raised me. Even though we had our battles with the people that raised me, but as I've gone older and matured in my life, I appreciate every day a lot more, because as a kid you don't really see everything. You don't really see the sacrifice, as little as big they may be, like how much our parents don't show us, but they just try to give us try to give us the perception that everything is good, because they don't want us to see the struggle. But that's one thing I really do appreciate about Polynesian parents. So I just want to give your parents a different shout out. So I guess that's the first thing I'm going to talk about when it comes to your childhood, because I do realize just based on my observation and listening to you about your parents. Your parents worked, they work together. I guess you grew up in a nice, solid foundation when it comes to a home. So that's why I respect and just love what your parents did for you, because I could just tell based on my own conversation with you. I was like, oh, your parents did a great job. Sometimes when I meet people and I talk to them, like, he has some good parenting. I can just tell he has some good parenting. Sometimes I don't know if you ever read people, and especially when it's like, some bad people, and I'm like, who the hell raised you? I don't know if that ever crossed your mind, but but when I met you just before the podcast, and we had a little one conversations, I could tell just my own, because just for experience of life in general, you can tell a lot about people just based on how you conversate with them and getting to know them, when you come from their home. So I do want to talk about your parents, and because I feel like a lot of things, not only as a lot of people watch this. I guess one of my favorite quotes is "Everything starts at home." And I do realize how important the home dynamic is when it comes to the growth of any individual, especially for Polynesian kids. So, and that's why I want to focus on right now, because everybody that's listening, you guys are all going to be dads one day. You're going to all be moms one day. And if you're already a parent, if you're watching this show, you're already a parent, great. But I feel like, I do want to talk about it because how important it is to create a stable home for the growth of a child. And I guess that's I want to go into. So looking back at it now, I guess my first thing I want to ask you is can you talk more of the things your father did and how that impacted you? And I know when you as a child you didn't really realize it, but when you today, like, would you ever think about things your dad did, how no matter how small or how big, but you look at it now, oh my God, like, whoa, that really definitely had an impact to who you are today. And the reason why I want to bring that up is just number one, for personal awareness for everybody, that everything you do around children, there's an impact. And I guess sometimes we're not aware of that. But that's something I just want to put out there, because I want every person to be happy, and I want every home to be a nice, solid foundation home for all children. Because I feel like everybody that watch my podcast, they already know I'm a big advocate to empowering the community, empowering upon Polynesian culture, elevating our culture to make sure we're happy. But I believe everything, all the stuff that I'm trying to do, everything that starts with the home. So I just want to go with that. So can you talk about all the things that your father did to you? Whatever it's conversations, whatever it's just little things he did, what little self-affirmations, or little words of encouragement, of things he just fed your mind to push you. I mean, whatever you want to share, because I want people to hear this. And also the same thing for your mom. Can you talk about the things your mom did? As little, as small, as big as they may be, but for a fact, looking back at your life in introspect, that you're like, oh, like, I'm so happy, I'm so glad, like, I'm just so, because I get, when you start crying, I was like, oh my God, I could tell, like, you're not only you love and respect and appreciate your parents, but I'm pretty sure that you have that, probably had those thoughts in your head where you just self-reflect and look back at what your parents did to get you this far in life. And I just want you to, if you don't mind sharing that, because I want people to see how important it is to create a stable home in the house. And I want every Polynesian kid to be happy, but also realize people, like, how important it is to realize that everything we do as individuals, as brothers, siblings, or as parents, it has an impact to our kids growing up. And you may think that what you say is stupid, or you may think what you do is small, too small, they don't care. But as kids growing up, you don't realize as kids, we're always learning. We're always learning from the people we see. And no matter how small of an impact you do to your child, whatever it's a positive word, or positive encouragement, whatever it's a nice little self-talk, whatever it's just walking down the street, take them to the park and spend that one-on-one to whatever, like I say, whatever it is, that could have an impact on the child's confidence and as far as their growth. So I really want to kind of dive into this topic. So, so can you talk about everything your dad did to you, and we just open up, like, share everything you can remember, and then also everything your mom did to you. And I definitely want to hear that and allow my guests to hear that as well.
I think I will say, like, I did not, for a long time, I didn't actually get along with my parents. And a lot of that was just because, like, I think I don't know, I grew up very, like, rebellious as a child. And I think
it's normal. It's normal. We all go through that phase.
Yeah. So I feel like when people, like, when I tell them, like, how, like, much I love my parents and how great, they think that it's always been, like, a great relationship. And I think for me, I also grew up closer to my dad in general. But I will just preface it with just saying, like, I was not an easy child.
Yeah.
With. But I think for me, like, my dad, I think he just taught me so much, like, from a young age, from, like, being able to, like, he never instilled anything but, like, high hopes, high dreams, high goals. And I think, like starting that at such a young age is such a big thing. And I think it's something like whenever I talk to kids now, I'm like, oh, like, you can aim to be the biggest thing that you want to be, because that's, like, what you will be one day. And I think, like, it's true for even all my siblings now. Like, my dad, like, even now, he's just consistently telling us, like, you're going to do much more, you're going to do this, and you're going to do this. And I think for him, like, he's always been so supportive in whatever educational career we want to do, or, like, in other careers. outside of medicine for all my other siblings. But I think like my dad, one thing I will say is that he didn't have sons for like a long time, uh, really long time. So I think one of the things that he taught me was just like a lot of hard work, um, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears going into just like the opportunities that I had. So like because my dad didn't have like sons, he would take me to work with him. He would take me to the Piueti, and then I would be doing all the stuff that normally like little boys would be doing, and like at the end of each day he would be like, you see this, you see the money that we get like from this job or this job, and you see how we went around the island, like this is going straight to your education, like you know, like you work this hard so that we're going to put you in the school that you're at. And I think for me, like I like, you know, like I would be like, Dad, like I want to use it to like buy this, can we use it to buy that, or like,
Yeah.
and I want to use it to have fun with. And he was always very adamant about being like, we're gonna do something better with that money. And I think like it's something that he did with like all of my sisters, and I think that's why I when I look at my sisters, like we're so strong in the way that we decide to pursue careers, because of the way that like my dad taught us from a young age. It's like we're gonna work hard, we're gonna go out there. Like he would wake us up like at the ass crack of dawn, like at like 4 a.m. Like nobody needed to go work at the pig farm at 4 a.m. Nobody needed to go start mowing lawns like that early. Nobody, like my dad was primarily like a landscaper at that time, but like just doing all these things. And I remember I would be embarrassed. There were like times because my dad would actually advertise his services because I went to a private school. So he would be like, there's rich people, like, let me go and like,
and a lot of preppy kids, huh?
yeah. And remember there was a, like this girl's house that we were at. And I remember just like watching her from the outside as me and my dad are working, and just watching her enjoying like her big house and inside her like living room. And like, I was just like, man, like what, like to be that kid. I remember like just feeling like, dang, like that's not fair. And I think like now that I've like experienced a lot of life, I'm so grateful. Like I know what it's like to have to work for things that you want. And I don't know. Sorry, I don't know. Just certain memories like that just get me really emotional. Um, and then I think like just starting that from a young age. And then I remember like from then on, like my dad, he's always been interested in business. And I think because he would have like, for a little bit, he had his own landscaping business. And then I just remember anytime I wanted something, he wanted me to practice like just the aspect of like having a business or whatever, like proposing business proposals or something. I'm not actually familiar with business. But he would have me, if I wanted something, he would have me write up a whole business proposal. And I remember the first time I did it, I was like, I don't even like, I was like Googling at my school, like how to write a business proposal. And like, it was like all these things. I wrote up the whole paperwork. And like, I remember I left it on the dining room table for my dad to come home like after his work day so that he could find it. And then so then he looked over this the first time, and then I would have to do a presentation of like why I needed it, what is the benefit, how is it gonna, if he invests, what is he gonna get out of it. It's like stupid stuff, but it was like for like someone in like third grade, and I'm over here like practicing like my ability to present, like even just to my dad late at night, and be like, please, I need this one toy, and like if you invest, promise that you will get your
like Shark Tank.
Yeah, it was I think it was like it's stupid, but it was, I think it like that started the certain skills that I have today, you know, like being able to communicate effectively, being able to write concisely and also effectively. Like I think it's just like little skills like that that kind of built up to things that help me in my education and helps me even till today. And I don't know, I feel like I could go on and on with my dad. Like
keep going.
He's like the number one supporter. And I think it's funny because like he's so old school, but there's certain things where he just wants the best for his kids. He's literally he would come to every single like practice I had and would wait there like at like to pick me up. He was I think if there's one thing I can say is like my dad is very consistent. And
Oof,
I
that's powerful right there.
yeah. And I remember I used to get so embarrassed. I'm like, Dad, don't you have like anywhere else to be? Like, you have to be here every day. And like, it was just, he was very consistent. Like every morning, like he was standing at my door at like 4 a.m. He's like, get up, get ready. We got to go to school. And then he would wait for me till school started. And then he would like be there when school ended. And like, he would just be at every game. He would be at everything. And I think like, he's such a big cheerleader in his own way. He loves to just be involved in like not just my own self, but like also my siblings. And I think it's so crazy because I have like 4 other siblings. For him to be as involved as he is, to be such a big advocate for each of us. I went to Punahou, which in Hawaii is a pretty big school to try and get into, and I just remember like I was waitlisted, and like every day my dad was going to the office and being like, you know, like you got to let my daughter in, you got to do this, do that. And I just remember just him being there in that setting. I remember he told me like later, he like, you know, someone said something to me like, because I think he looks like someone who can't speak English, who doesn't understand. And I remember he said, like, you know, like people think like I'm not, like I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know anything, like they treat him a certain way. And I think he's so proud that he can get me and my siblings into spaces that he's worked so hard to open up doors for. And I think that's been the biggest thing. He is literally in places that I don't even know, just speaking of me and speaking about me to open up like opportunities. And he's always just searching for opportunities for me to be in. And I think that's like, I don't know. I think it's such a great quality in any person, I guess. But yeah, I just it's just so supportive. I remember in college, he would just, I remember I would be like, Dad, like I can't, like I'm dropping out of college, I'm not doing this, I can't do this, I can't, like I'm gonna fail my exam. And even like now in med school, like before every exam, I'm like, Dad, I'm like crying, I can't do this, like I'm not smart enough. And like he's just there, like he's like, you're smart, you're gonna do this. He's like, you will be great, like you're gonna be fine, and then we can do something after. And I think like for him, just like giving me that support, but also being there, because there have been times where he's like, okay, if you really feel this way, come home and we can like, we'll take care of you, take a break and you'll go back to school like next semester. And I think for him, like giving me that opportunity has been so important, because then it realizes like, okay, you know what, Dad, actually I don't need to come home, I can take this exam, I'll be fine. But like he gives me the space. I think he also just knows like when he needs to give me that push and when he needs to just take it back and just be like, come home, come rest, come be with us. And like I think that's been so vital in my relationship with my dad.
Man, shout out to your dad. I just want to say, I gotta say that one more time. Shout out to your dad, and just everything you shared about your dad. There's a couple things I do want to go over real quick about, you know, the things that your dad and how he impacted you. And I feel like, and of course, I want to open this for discussion, and you can jump in at any time. But I just want to give you my thoughts, and because I want the audience to listen to this. The three, and go back to what I said earlier. You know how important it is to create a stable home for a child when it comes to growth. And like I said, everything starts at home. You know, what we learn about love comes from home. What we learn about relationships from healthy, you know, confidence, self-esteem, mindset. Everything starts at home. So that's why I want to go deeper into this. But there's 3 things that I heard you say about what your dad did to you, that I feel like it's something that's very important and very critical to the advancement and growth of a healthy for a healthy child. But also at the same time, I feel like it's lacking within a lot of Polynesian homes. The number one thing that I saw that your dad did was I noticed he was very open when it came to communicating with you. And for me, that's something I see a lot that's lacking within a lot of the Polynesian homes, the lack of communication with their child. And just thinking back in my own life, there was like slim, zero, barely. Like there was honestly there was no communication at all, or maybe there was, but slim to none. But just my own personal experience growing up with my grandma who raised me majority of her life in Tonga, but also with my parents, there was barely any communication at all. I mean, just thinking about, I'm just trying to think back to my life. Like, when did I ever sit down with my parents and have like a open conversation and just share to them what I was going through? And if I look back at it right now, probably can't think of any any moment. But that's why I really believe that communication is key. And you shared something that your dad did really well when you were struggling in college and you were feeling that pressure from taking your tests. One thing he did, he like you said this, you said this, and I love what you said. He knew when to push you, and he knew when to give you space, and that is so important, I believe. And if you want to jump in, when it comes to raising, to developing a child to reach their full potential, is knowing when to push them in certain moments, and also knowing to give them that space. And because a lot of times I feel like because of our Polynesian community, our Polynesian parents and elders, because there is no communication, and of course, you know, if you grow up in a very Polynesian traditional home, Polynesian parenting is tough love. There is no open space. There's only push. All right, there's only push. So one thing I see with a lot of my friends is their parents constantly pushing them and constantly pressuring them. All these expectations. They have to do this, they have to do that. And a lot of times my friends get overwhelmed. I can remember a lot of times for myself, I felt overwhelmed. And it was just constant, just like, you have to do it, you have to do it, you have to do it. And of course, in sometimes in life, it gets tough, and then we just feel overburdened, and then we just feel that pressure, and then we fall apart mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And the fact that he gave you space, you know, you were in medical school. Number one, you're in medical school. You know, who would tell their daughter to come back from school? Most Polynesian parents would never do. Like, I paid for the school. You know, you better go to school. You better finish school. You know, you're not coming home, right? But the fact that he understood what you're going through, he allowed you, give you that space. Hey, you know, look, you know, if it's too much, come home, and it's okay. And I feel like if you don't give that open, if you push too much, I feel like you're gonna push your kids to the edge, and they're gonna eventually, as kids, we're all different when it comes to our emotional tolerance or strength. Some kids are very tough, and they can just handle that tough love from their parents, and they make it in life. But a lot of kids, they don't have, they're not meant to, their tolerance, what they can take emotionally, is sometimes they can't handle it, and then sometimes they fall apart, and they fall apart mentally, and that's why a lot of kids have mental health. So, but the fact that he gave you that open space to you, and the only reason why he was, I mean, this is my opinion. The only reason why he was able to give you that open space, I understood what you went through, because he knows you, right? Because of that open communication that he's gone through his whole life. Like, he actually knows his child. He actually knows how you feel. He knows how you are mentally, emotionally. So he knows when to push you, because you guys have been buddies your whole life. He's taking you everywhere, right? He's taking you everywhere. He's taking you everywhere his whole life. Like, you know, so he's had you multiple community. Like, he's talked to you his whole life. He's been there with your whole life. So he actually knows you, and he knows you, how you are emotionally. He knows how you are mentally. So he knows what you can take, what you can't take, and he knows as a father, he knows just what to do to give you what you need so you can push yourself to be better. And the fact that he gave you the open space, and then you're like, you know what, I can do it, right? Right? And because I'm saying this because I hope, you know, everybody's listening, and if of course, you can all relate to this. And a lot of kids, and if you're watching this, you're a kid. Also, if you're a parent, you can relate to this, because our Polynesian parents can be very, very assertive, and when it comes to what they expect out of us and what they want of us, and especially if your parents are very traditional, there's no communication. They just, you know, in Polynesian culture, is just like, just listen to what I say and follow it. And if you don't follow it, you're gonna get disciplined. And that's the punish upbringing of a lot of island kids, which I went through, by the way. Um, but like I said, the fact that he gave you that space is because that will not have happened if he didn't communicate with you, with and giving and having that open communication. And sadly for me, what I see with a lot of kids nowadays, their parents don't know who their child is, right? They know, like they don't know who, like they don't know them. They know them externally, right? But they don't know their child mentally. They don't know their child emotionally. They don't know their child spiritually. They don't know their child. They don't know what their child is really feeling. And because of that lack of open communication to really understand their kids, and that's why I see a lot of kids, especially the youth, why mental health is prevalent now, why it's happening, and why a lot of kids feeling too much pressure. I mean, I've not only on my own podcast with all my guests, but just a lot of Polynesians in general. That's like one of the main things I always hear. My parents, I feel too much pressure from all these expectations. My parents are not listening to me. They don't care, and they just feel overburdened. And like you said, as a human being, when you can't take it, and you hold all these emotions inside and you bottle up, it can really harm you. Not only emotionally, but sometimes people do that physically because they just can't take it. So that's something I really appreciate what what your dad did, and I hope a lot of people listening, the fact that he communicated with you to really not only to allow you to communicate back to. It's always good to any relationship to have healthy communication, but the purpose of open communication, what is it like? As the purpose of open communication in any relationship is so you can understand the other individual, right? If you guys are listening, I'm sure we've all gone on dates, and if you and when your partner does, if you have a boyfriend or girlfriend, but if your partner doesn't communicate with you, it creates a lot of negative feelings, right? Because you don't feel heard, you don't feel appreciated, right? And that's what a child does. Like when you don't communicate to your child in an open manner, you create that open, healthy relationship, the child can sometimes feel overburdened, feel like you don't care, and it causes a lot of fear and confusion within the child. And that's why communication is key, so you can communicate with them, because you don't know what your child's going through, and the child doesn't know what you're going through. And so you're just both guessing what each other. You're both guessing of what each other. No one's psychic. Like we're not psychic.
Yeah.
You communicate it. That's how we're able to understand what we're going through, and that's why I feel like communication. We need to do a better job at that in the dynamic of at the family level. And because I grew up very traditional. I grew up in hardcore Polynesian love, no communication, no affection. Listen, and if you don't listen, you just get disciplined. And that's the type of upbringing I learned. And when I grew up as a man, I was very closed. It developed me to a point where I didn't want to allow anybody into my life, because I never got that from my own parents or my own the people who raised me. But that's my first thought on that. I want to just ask you, what are your thoughts about that? Open communication, how that, and of course you talked about it, but also do you see what do you see? I'm sure you have Polynesian friends, you see other Polynesian families. Like, what do you see as far as like the level of open communication that you see with your friends and other Polynesians?
I think that I don't know. Like, I think I do know a lot of ones that are typically, I think, more closed off about everything. I think for them, it is definitely a little bit harder for them to communicate everything that they do. I think that they want to. I think a lot of people are scared of getting in trouble. That's what I grew up like realizing. Like there are so many kids who are scared of getting in trouble. But I think, okay, well, I was also scared because my parents, they do beat us, or they do like do the
of course every parent,
I don't know. I don't know. I think like it would be like, okay, I just got beat, but like now my dad like is talking like like I think we just had a different type of relationship where like, okay, that was done because like you did this, this, and this, but like I told you not to do it and you're gonna go over there and still do it. But like I don't know. I think it's just also that we had like a relationship like that kind of allowed me to just like grow from like those things, because I don't know, because I think like there are just a lot of people where maybe they just would get beat and then just they also just weren't like close to their parents, that like it was just like, okay, now this is the person, they just keep eating me. Like every time I do something, they just keep eating me. Or like,
Yeah. There's no. It's like there's
yeah,
no verbal. It's just
yeah, yeah. It was just like
physical.
physical, like
Yeah.
interaction.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, I think like for me, like I remember like I would just get beat and I'd be like so upset, and like I would be like livid. I just like, I'm never talking to him again. I'm never talking to my mom. I'm never talking to my dad. But then, you know, like then they do nice things. Or like my mom, like my parents are genuinely like, they try to be good people. And I just remember like I would just be so upset, and then my dad would be like, okay, now we're gonna go do this for you, like we need to go, like just like little things that I needed. Or like, okay, now you need to go do this for school, let's go and do it together. Like now you need to do this, like let's go and do it together. So I think it was like, it's stuff like that where I was like, I couldn't be upset all the time. So that
Yeah.
and then I'd be like, okay. And like now it's funny because like I mean, I don't get beat anymore, but like I'm like at that age where it kind of phased out. But like now, like if my dad like is like scolding me or something, and then like, you know, like it hurts, and like I'm like real sad about it, and then a day later I'll come and I'm like, Dad, like, you know, you really hurt my feelings when you did that. And he was like, well, like this and this, like you should have done this. And like I was like, okay, but you really hurt my feelings, you didn't have to do that. And that was
Yeah.
like literally the last fight that we had, like, or when he was yelling at me. But I don't know, I think we have like in a relationship now where later on, or like after the fact, I can be open about like, he hurt my feelings.
Shoot, if I ever said that to my people who raised me, I'm like, you hurt my feelings. I probably get a worse beating that I already
Oh yeah.
received.
Yeah. I think it's just having a relationship to begin with. Is definitely a big one. 'Cause, I know I have like friends and family that like they're close to like their parent, but they're close in a way like they would never tell them like bad things they've done. And I think for me, like
Yeah,
every time I've done, oh, like this is so terrible. Every time I've done something bad, I go
yeah,
running to my dad, I get my spanking, but then he helps me, you know,
yeah,
like I think he's like been like, even though he's like the number one discipliner in our house, and he's like a hard hitter and stuff, like it's he's still the person that like will still be the first to support me and still be the one to fix all my problems. And I think
yeah.
that's why I've been able to just kind of be like, okay, well, I'm gonna deal with this, but I'm gonna deal with my like consequences, but he's gonna help me. I'm gonna figure this out. And I'm gonna get out of it. So
Yeah, and that's also a great thing about over communication. And if you listen to this, you should always want your kids to come to you first for their problems. And I realize that's how important that is, because when you don't create open communication with your kids, and the kid has a problem, we tend to go outside and find a solution. The problem with that is we're not prepared for the real for real life, and oftentimes we go into situations or hang around certain people that may not have the best intentions for us, and then that's why people get hurt. That's why it's always good to go back to create an open relationship so they can come to you, even if they do mess up. They come to you because as a parent, as parents, they always have your best interest, even though they may express it or in a different form. Even though, like you said, they might get upset. They might get upset. They might scold you. They might discipline you. But I think I've seen it so many times where there's no communication within the parent and the child in Polynesian homes, where as soon as they have a disagreement or something happens to something bad happens in their life, they never tell their parents at all, and they never go to their parents at all, and they end up try to find that help on the outside, or a lot of people, we deal it on our own, and that's where a lot of the pain and the suffering comes. And I feel like that's why I feel like it's so important to have open communication. So if something if your daughter or if your son does something, they should want to come back. For me, when I have a daughter one day, I want to create an open relationship where if she does something, she always comes to me as her father. And I don't want her to be afraid to come to me, because I feel like I've had that in my own relationship with my own upbringing, where I didn't want to share anything with my own parents or my own people who raised me, because I just never had the connection with them. Even I still respected them and loved them as the relationship between a parent and a child. But as far as like the emotional attachment,
yeah,
the emotional connection, on the external connection, I was linked to one because that's my parent. I always would love and respect, because biologically that's my parent. But when it goes on a deeper level, it's emotional attachment. It's hard for me to connect with my parents because we never built that relationship. But I feel like, yeah, especially when it comes to the young, when I see a lot of young kids, teenagers, adolescents, they make a lot of mistakes, and the first thing they do is because they never had the relationship, they go outside and hang around the wrong people instead of going home. So I always want to make sure when I do have kids one day for my son, especially my daughter, I want to make sure like she has a problem, something happens, she can come to me first, and I want her and not be ashamed and not be afraid, and then just put my pride aside as a father, and make sure she gives the support and love and need, because at the end of the day, because sometimes as kids, when we mess up, and all the parents out there, I know it'd be some, depending on the mess up, depending on the mistakes, you get some mistakes, it's really hard. But I'm telling you, sometimes as kids, when we mess up, all we need is just support and love, and that's all we need for us to overcome whatever failure or whatever mistake that we make. But oftentimes when we make mistakes as kids, the first reaction we do, especially the tough Polynesian parents, is just to hit and discipline their child. But then sometimes, and that's why I hear a lot of Polynesian kids always say, I feel distant from my parent. Because when we mess up, that's the most vulnerable moment of our life. And then when you're vulnerable, as bad, and of course, if you mess up, we have to take responsibility, right? Number one, I just want to put it out there. I'm not trying to justify your mess up. Sometimes, if you make a bad, I'm not trying to tell everybody, hey, well, no. When we make a mistake, we have to take responsibility, right? So that's number one. So I put it out there. But when we fail in life and we fall in life, when we make mistakes in life, we are very vulnerable at that moment. And then in the most vulnerable times in our life, that's what we need support and love the most. And if you don't get, and when we're vulnerable, sorry guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
When we're vulnerable, that's the time that we need love and support the most. And any little thing can push us to either side, the dark and the light. And that's why I see, when a lot of kids mess up, very vulnerable, and then instead of getting some love and support, the first thing they hear is anger, frustration, and hate and disappointment from their parents. I remember, and then so I'm just, and of course, like I said, I'm just about, I mean, there's no when it comes to your relationship with your child, everybody's different. So I'm just offering things we can do to improve it, because something I feel like, I guess a lot of the problems we can fix today with a lot of the things kids go through is just having an open communication and understanding with your kid, and just being there. I think I feel like just being there at the worst times of their life, because when you feel at the worst times of life, we feel all alone, and then we don't want to make it worse, and then they feel like more alone. Because in the times that we mess up in life, that's when we need our parents the most. And sometimes we have our pride, and the parents have their pride, and then now sometimes I feel like sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, sometimes parents like take your pride away, show them love and support, and then offer them the constructive criticism right after.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, don't just go hardcore and give them the criticism, even though there are moments in time we do need that as kids. There's been times I'm not gonna lie, I was like, yeah, I need to get, I deserve that ass whooping. I deserve that ass whooping. So there were times, I'm just saying, it's not always the same all the time, but I'm just saying is, constructive criticism and discipline is not always the answer in every single situation. You have to, like I said, like your dad, he has, because he knows you, he knows when to push you, and he knows to give you space. So like I said, every situation is different. So that's why understanding your child is very key, very important. So you know when it's time to give them that constructive criticism and that tough love, but you also know it's time to put that to the side and just show them that unconditional love and support, so they can feel safe. They can feel safe in their home. And then maybe the next day, get that ass whooping. So I just want to share that. What are your thoughts? Your thoughts on that? That's what I asked your opinion.
I feel like I'm very biased. I feel like because I grew up that way, and I do like that kind of style of upbringing. I think because of my relationship with my parents, or especially with my dad, I think that it's like super important for me to find like a partner like that. Like I want someone who is like isn't afraid to like be vulnerable, to be open, to talk things out. Especially with kids, you know, like I think like kids are at a very impressionable age where you want to be able to speak life into them. And I think like especially with Polynesian men, it can be kind of difficult to find that
Mm-hmm.
type of person
Mm-hmm.
who doesn't want to act all hard all the time. I think it's really important to find someone who's willing to be vulnerable, um, and be willing to be able to like cater to different feelings that like kids can have. And I think I think it's just a great quality, I guess, in everyone, but also like in fathers, um, in general.
Yeah, yeah. Oof, yeah. As you were sharing it, I was just having flashbacks about my own upbringing. um, so yeah, so that was one thing I realized. So I'm glad we kind of dived into it. And of course, if you're watching this right now, if you have any thoughts about it, feedback, comments, please drop a comment below. Definitely want to hear your feedback when it comes to open communication, when it comes to our children, and of course, your thoughts on making sure that uh, that we should always be. That's the thing. We should always be there at the worst times of our kids' life. I feel like that's something that we should always make sure embrace them and not push them away. Um, so Nolan, one thing I did notice when you shared about your dad, something he did, I think was very powerful. I feel like a lot of kids definitely need this. It's like planting seeds, encouraging your self-esteem and planting seeds in your mind, as far as like the type of person um, that he wanted you, but also he wanted to push you to be. And I feel like there's a lot of lack of that because in order to give people positive affirmations and planting seeds, you have to talk. And because we don't have open communication, we never received those words. But that was very powerful. Like I love how how he did that to you. Like just encouraging, planting those seeds in your mind. Hey, you're gonna be a doctor one day. You're gonna go have a higher education one day. You're gonna be successful one day. And if you listen to this, you already understand. If you understand uh, if you understand personal growth, if you understand personal development, if you understand what it takes to be successful, like they always talk about, everything starts with the mindset, right? If you don't have the right mindset, that can be the reason why it stops a lot of people from growth. You know, if you have a negative mindset, you're pessimistic, you're a blamer, victim, you have a victim mentality, you're probably not gonna do well in life, right? But if you have if you have a growth mindset, you willing to dream, you willing to try new things, you're open to change, open to adjusting. Always be optimistic, attitude towards life and perspective towards life. Accepting things and learning from it. That's a different type of mindset that we. And that's why one thing I see. That's one thing I like to do is I like to study successful people. So for me, when I see somebody who does really well, I'm not really interested about their accomplishments. I'm interested in their mindset. Like, what did they do mentally to get to where they are in life? Because I realize everything starts here. So I loved how your dad fed to you. Because one thing I see a lot, and I don't know and you can jump in at any time, I see a lot of insecure kids, Polynesian kids, unconfident kids, no self-esteem, no confidence in themselves. And for me, just being Polynesian, and I know we're like, compared to the rest of the world, we're like the minority. We're like 0.001%.
Yeah.
Compared to other cultures as far as population density. But I see so many talented Polynesians every single day. I see so many intellectual Polynesians every single day. I meet so many powerful speakers as far as like poetry, music, all talent all across the board. And it saddens me when I see these talented Polynesians have all this ability, this God-given ability within them, but they never manifest or take action because they're just so afraid, or because they just lack the confidence, because their whole life nobody's ever told them, hey, you can do it. And you don't realize how powerful that is to a child, to tell them every single day and feed that confidence in themselves so they can develop confidence with themselves. Because if you go into the real world with no confidence, oh my God, whew, that's a rough ride. That's going to be a rough ride for you, because the world is negative, the world is harsh, the world is unfair, the world is difficult. That's just life. That's why it's so important to make sure that you are strong mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and you believe in yourself, because most people in this world are not going to believe in you. So that's why you have to believe in yourself. So can you I do want to, yeah, I love how your dad did that. He just fed you that positive affirmation, and he just planted that seed within you. And I feel like for a lot of Polynesian, and of course, if you're watching this, if you can relate, drop a comment. I want to hear your I want to hear the things that your parents told you. But looking back at my experience from my own life, I'm doing. I mean, if I look at what I'm doing right now, I will never think in a million years from a little, poor little skinny kid from Tonga to be here in America doing a podcast. Like never had. I'm just looking at my own. Like I've never, nobody in my growing up as a kid. Uh, I remember they did push for school. That's the only one thing I'm gonna say about my own upbringing. They did, hey, good grades in school. I did remember my parents. My dad wanted me to be a doctor. That's the only thing he told me: be a doctor, be a doctor, be a doctor, be a doctor, be a doctor. Um, but besides that, I never had that conversation. Hey, you can do it. I never heard those words. You can do it. You can be anything you want to be. And then, so growing up, I remember growing up, I was very insecure. As a man, I was not confident. Um, Plus the fact I came from Tongan to here, so I was a fob, so my English was terrible. At the broken English. I mean, it just gives me. I always cringe when I look back. But I put in a lot of effort into making sure that I could be able to communicate and speak efficiently the way I speak now, just from repetition. But I can see how, but I remember, yeah, just growing up and coming to America, I wasn't confident in myself. I remember that I honestly believe that the only thing I could ever do in my life was yate, work at the airport. And I'm not trying to throw stereotypes, by the way. My mom was a caretaker. We call it live ini. But honestly, when I grew up, I thought the only thing I could do was either be at the airport, be a yate worker, or just some kind of like physical labor job. And I thought that was all my life, as far as my life could go. And I thought that's as far as I could aspire to be. And I was very limited as far as like the possibilities of what I could do as a Tongan man, right? Because that's what I saw growing up, and nobody ever encouraged me to do better than my current situation. So I just kind of, like you said, just accepted for what just accepted what life gave me, and never accepted the responsibility to change anything and pursue something. But like I said, I met certain people that changed my mindset. But I love how your dad did that to you. That he fed you those words and grow them, and just allow it naturally to grow and grow like a seed. Like he plant that seed. That's why I like that term. When you plant that seed and let it grow naturally, right? Even though he planted that, even though he may have told you to be a doctor, that was his dream, but he planted that seed in you, and he allowed it to grow, right? And now he has become. I don't know. Is that something that's your dream now, to be in the medical field?
Yeah. I think it did definitely, he did like plant it, and then it soon became my dream. And I think it's more because of the fact that like he didn't just tell it to me. I think like throughout my life, like he'd be like, you see like our people, like people in Tonga, like we need this there. Like one
Yeah.
day, don't you want to go back and give in that way? Or like he'll be like, see these people in our like own community in Hawaii, like you want to serve in this way. And it was just like, then he like would just like point out certain instances like, oh, this is unfair, like this is unfair with this health system. And it's just like small things like that. And I would just be like, oh, you're right, dad, like that is unfair. Like, oh, you're right, like why do they get better insurance than everybody else? Or it's like stuff like that like I think just like started the ball rolling. I would just like start thinking about it, and then over time then it became like actually a real thing for me when I realized like this isn't just like him just telling me what to do. Like this,
Yeah.
like you made like a great case, and then suddenly it became like something that I was genuinely interested in. And it just so happened to work with like what like I was interested in science at the time, and I think it just all kind of worked out that way. And I think I don't know, I think it's like so important to like do those things. but I will say that he did like, I think like planting a seed is great, and he did that for all our siblings, but like it doesn't necessarily mean like people go into that.
Yeah.
But he's been so supportive regardless of that, because there's one of my sisters, he told her from like a young age, okay, you're gonna be the judge in our family, like you're gonna grow up, you're gonna go into law, you're gonna go and you're gonna be a judge. And then we do little things, and then like she realized like, dad, like this isn't what I want to do. And he's like, okay, then what is it that you think that you want to do? And like it's like starting that conversation again. And then like when he realizes like, oh, like she's really interested in this, like, okay, like, so then what do you have to do in that? Like, okay, well, you got to do this. Like, that's what you got to do. You got to do that. We got to add that onto your, like, that whole list of like requirements for you to fulfill like that part of your dream. And I think that he's even doing that like for my younger brothers now who are in college, high school. So I think it's like, I think the idea for me with the whole planting a seed is like great, that it at least like gets you aspiring to do something great with your life, or doing something that you think will be meaningful, or doing something I don't know, just doing something more with your life. And then like if it changes, it changes, and just being supportive and being able to plant other seeds in other ways, like and I think I just really like that. And it just so happened I just really like my seed.
No, like no, no. It's so great what he did, because one thing I say is like, just plant. I mean, plant something.
Yeah.
Plant something within the child so they can aspire and work towards them. Give them some kind of direction, right? And like you said, at least give them some kind of direction to work with, because and that's better than not planting anything at all, right? I guess like when it comes to religion, right? That's what I always say to my friends. Like, I don't, whether you believe in God or higher power or karma or energy, I don't know, but believe in something. All right, believe in something. You don't have to have. We don't have to have the same religious views or anything, but I don't. You don't have to believe. I just want you to believe in something, to push you, to give you faith towards something, to work towards something, to move towards something.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's what a lot of the pain and struggle and misery comes from, is when we stay stagnant, we stay in the same position, we don't grow. So that's why it's so important to have a goal, have a dream, have faith in something, or believe in something, to move towards something. So that way, when you do make falls, or you do fail in life, and you do have those hard times, it's going to allow you to get out of it and keep moving and not remain in the misery. So, and that's why, like I said, like, and that's why I love what he did. Like, and that's for every Polynesian parents out there, like, inspired, plant a seed in them, and of course, and just allow it to grow, and feed them with like like every seed, you need nourishment, you need seed, you need sunlight. I think that's one of my favorite quotes. I don't know, I'm trying to paraphrase it, but it said like every seed needs sunlight, soil, and air. And I think the analogy was like, if you plant a seed within the kid, they need sunlight, which I think they would relate it to like warmth of love, right? Keep giving that love, feed that seed with love. The soil would be like that environment, right? The environment, the soil, the environment. So give them a safe environment, and then the air. I totally forgot what the air was. It was, huh? Oh, I'm saying water. Oh, the water. Yeah. Probably totally forgot water. Yeah, so water, like just like the actual watering it daily. So that means just like nurturing, that nurture of watering it daily, or taking care of it, the nurturing it. And if you do that, then that's how seeds can grow from a little mustard seed into a giant, tree. So this same analogy applies to any kid's life. Like, you have to plant something in them for them to grow. But a lot of kids, there is no seed. There's nothing planted in them. So they're just existing in life. And I guess that's what I would love to say. And that's why, and of course, these Polynesians, we're so comfortable in staying the same. We're very comfortable people. I guess the best evidence of that is when it comes to, I think we're too comfortable, by the way. I think as Polynesian people, I mean, there's nothing wrong being comfortable, be comfortable. But we're too comfortable. We're just so lackadaisical. We just so, it's life, just let life, perfect example of that would be poly time. No, but we're never on time to anything. we're never on time for anything at all, because we're so lackadaisical. We're so comfortable. I'll get there 2 hours later. I'll get there 3 hours later. And if you guys all know watching this poly time how difficult that may be, but yeah, like, when you're moving towards something, when you know your purpose, when you have something like there, it's like you want to be on time. But so I'm so happy that he did that. And I feel like a lot of people definitely need to hear this to feed your kids confidence, because you have to have confidence. You have to have confidence, and in order to have confidence, you have to have something to work towards. And if you don't have something to work towards in life, then I feel like if you, in order to have confidence, you have to have something to work towards and so you can take that first step forward and keep taking that step. But if you don't have no purpose in life, you don't have any belief in anything, if you don't have any goals for anything, if you don't have anything to work towards it, then what's the purpose of it? You don't need confidence at all, because you need confidence to do anything in life. But if you don't have never aspirations to do anything, then you're just existing. Any thoughts on that?
I think I resonate with it a lot. I don't know. I don't think I have anything much to add to that. I think it's just like my personality style has developed in a way where I think I'm not as much that. And I think I could say the same for my siblings. But I think in interactions with all the Polynesians, I think that I think that we're like people who like to adapt. And I think whenever I'm working with other Polynesians, they are willing to meet me at my time, at my speed. And I think that like, if you give people enough motivation to want to be on time, to want to do something, or just feeling like, like whether you show up on time or not, like this is going to go on without you. You're going to miss the eat. If you don't show up at this time, you're going to miss like your opportunity if you don't show up at this time. And I think like it does come off rude at times. But like if you're booking an event and you only get like 2 hours, like, like you don't really have much leeway with stuff. So I think that I will say that I think that we can be adaptable. I think we just need enough motivation to do so. And I think it's also one thing that I always think about. It's like that we are so capable of being able to achieve. And I think that if we just had someone to motivate us, like it would be possible. If we just had someone to tell us like, here's a timeline, do this, do that, like it would be so much easier for us to be able to do the things that we want to. Because I think that's also something that like I remember when I was talking about it with someone, like what is something that we feel like we're really talented in. And I think when I answered it, it was like, I think what I'm able to do is like I'm able to manifest a lot of things. And I think that's like something that I've been particularly like good at. And I think it's just because I'm always willing to take the next step, and I'm always like wanting to do, like I have like guidelines for myself. And I think like that started like with my parents like raising me up a certain way and then wanting to meet certain things. And I think like I feel really lucky that like whenever I wanted to do something, that I've been able to achieve it. Like whether it was in school or not, like there were just like a lot of like little things in my life where I've been able to just check that off of my bucket list of things. And it's been because like I just have certain motivation from either the people around me or just my own self that kind of keeps me accountable.
Oh, I loved it.
I think I just randomly went off about something. I don't even know what the question was anymore.
Yeah, and I'm so proud of you, because like you're working towards becoming a doctor. So like I think for me it just speaks volumes. It's so powerful to see Tongan doctor and Polynesian doctor. I remember growing up, I never saw a lot of examples in my life. Luckily for me, I'm the youngest, so I guess the thing that helped me was like I saw all my older siblings mess up in life, and I was like, okay.
I think
shout out to all my shout out to all my older siblings. I love y'all. I'm not gonna put your business out there, by the way. Just don't worry. But I saw all my older siblings mess up in life, so I took a step back and I was like, you know what? I don't want to go that route. I don't want to go that route. I guess I'll just make my own route. And
it helps you have older siblings, then you kind of narrows down your routes.
Yeah, but they can be really tough for them, because if you're the first child, right? So you like nothing to compare it to, and you just have to figure things out. But yes, but for me, it's like, that's why I'm a big advocate for like just when I see another Polynesian doing really well, even that don't not even doing well, trying. If I see somebody trying to better their life, trying to do something, to work towards a goal and dream, like I'm all about encouraging and uplifting and helping them because we need more of that because I feel like that's like how powerful it is. Like I already know you're gonna be a doctor one day. I'm just speaking it into existence right now. I would just put it out there into the universe. You're gonna be a great doctor, awesome doctor. So I would love my kid to grow up and see a Tongan doctor. You know what I'm saying? Like how powerful that is. Like they go to the hospital, like, hey, the doctor's Tongan, and now they just like puts a he does not it doesn't put a limit on what they now they see, oh, Polynesian doctor, no, I mean now they know it's possible because what happens, the reason why it's a struggle sometimes to work towards a goal or a dream as a Polynesian because we've never seen anybody done it before. So we tend to doubt ourselves. Can I do this? Because I'm looking around in my own community and nobody's actually doing it. So that can be really hard if you're the first person to break into that industry. But it's so easy to go into an industry when when you already see people already doing it because that just allows you like I have a daughter one day. She sees you being a doctor. She's like, oh my God, Dad, I could be a doctor one day like her. Like, hell yeah, you can. I'm like, let's go, baby. You could be a doctor too, But I didn't really have to put any. I mean, I was still gonna plant a seed within her, but I didn't really have to plant anything with her. She just saw that within you by example, and that also gave her confidence. So that's why for me, that's why I love when I see people doing really well in life, and when they talk about a goal and a dream. I'm like the first person to be on their bandwagon. I'm like, we're going. Let's go. I'm on your wagon. Let's go. We're gonna make this happen.
Yeah.
I'm not because I understand the impact it has not only for their own life. I'm so happy for them, but they don't really let the ripples, in the water. That's gonna spread out throughout the whole community, and somebody's gonna feel that. So yeah, I love the affirmation part. And like I said, if anybody's watching this, like please feed your kids, plant that seed, encouragement for encouragement. Because the harsh reality is, and I see this a lot, because most kids grow up in a household where there's no communication and it's tough love. Polynesian parents are very critical, man, very discouraging and very critical. And that's something I hear from a lot of kids where like a child will bring up their dream, bring up something of like, you can't do that, right? So negative. And just I've seen families just like openly just tell their kids like they're stupid. you just but like even in humor, sometimes the humor, but even if you joke about it, a kid will still internalize that as, oh, I'm stupid. So I feel like if you're watching this, if you're a parent or sibling, it doesn't matter. Be selective. Be aware of what messages and things you're telling your kid, because kids they absorb everything, good and bad, and because they don't have the intelligence to recognize what's healthy and unhealthy to block out the things they should block out. As adults, we have the intelligence to realize. For me, like I know when somebody says something, I'm not gonna listen to that. I'm block out that negativity right there. I don't need that. And the positivity, I'm gonna allow that in. Kids don't have that ability, that cognitive ability. So all they do is if all they see is negativity, then that's all they're gonna feed their mindset. That's all they're gonna believe, and then unfortunately that's how they're gonna feel about themselves. And that's why there's a lot of kids that's afraid, in fear, insecure, and unconfident. So please, Polynesian people, don't be too like stop the criticism, and be more loving and encouragement. But you see that, sorry, my alarm keeps come on. Let me turn it off. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. All right, cool. We're back. I'm so afraid my alarm my alarm kept going off, so I had to turn that off. Apologize, y'all. Don't criticize me. Don't bash me. Give me love. I need your words of encouragement right now, y'all. But yeah, do you see that? I mean, I'm asking you, like, do you see your friends, like, when it comes to, do you see like how critical and how negative, and like I said, I'm not trying to make it say that we're all negative, and I'm not trying to like put a negative light on our Polynesian community. Like, I know there's a lot of good about it. I'm just saying, do you see that within a lot of your friends, like the lack of positive encouragement and reinforcement from the household, and especially when it comes to something they want to bring up for themselves, and they just get shut down immediately? What do you see?
I don't know if it's. Sometimes I don't know if it's meant to come off that way for some people. I think like for a lot of families, like there are situations like that we can't control, like especially like for the ones here in Hawaii, it's pretty expensive to live out here, and I think like for some parents, like they can't afford to be able to do all these things. We need kids to kind of help out in that way to kind of sustain our lifestyle. Like even if you're living in like with like 5 other adults, it's still super expensive to live in this area. And I think for them, I think maybe not necessarily negative. I think it's more of like this is a reality of like our life, and we can't, like, if you're out chasing your dream, like that leaves us with nothing, like. And I think it's kind of sad because I do have family members or like friends that like that's their reality. And I think that I don't think any parent necessarily wants to be like, no, like this is stupid, like this is a dream that's stupid, like. But I think more and more like our parents are like thinking like, oh, like we just need help. We need the sustainability of the family, and right now we can't give up the sustainability for you to chase a dream. And I think for that, I think that's like the unfortunate reality of like living in America or living abroad. It can be difficult for us to kind of break out of that barrier. And I guess I just I get bummed out in that sense. And it's not always realistic for like people to make like sacrifices that like like my parents have made. And I would never expect. It's crazy because like I just think about like I would never make those same sacrifices like in the same situations that I was brought up in, just because like for me like the financial instability, like that always gave me a lot of anxiety. And now like like I do get anxiety about finances, but like I understand why certain people aren't able to chase certain dreams. And I think it's just like the infrastructure that we're in right now. And I think like when we are negative, when parents are negative about things, that they're just thinking about the realistic outcome of it. Like I think like what is it, like the outcome of like many of our like people like being able to successfully become like music producers or be able to successfully become like America's Next Top Model. Like we have like one Veronica. Like like
shout out to Veronica.
Yeah, like it's so difficult to be able to make it to that point. And I think like, do you really want to sacrifice all of that to just like with the majority of the percentage of people not actually being able to achieve that? I think that's definitely a realistic thing to think about. And I think like even for education, like I think like for people to like my dad could have invested in me, and then I could have been like, no, like later on, like oh, like either I didn't get into med school or I don't like actually do the things that like would have been helpful, like, or even like now, like like the return on anything that I'm doing right now is gonna be long.
Long term.
Yeah, like, and I think about it all the time. Like my dad jokes like, you're like, nothing that I'm doing is I'm like, I'll probably be dead by the time like you actually start making money. And it's kind of like realistic because like nothing, like I won't start making money until like probably like 5 years from now, like, and that's like a little bit of money. So it's like I think for me, I try to give some people a little bit of like benefit of the doubt. Like I think like for most of us we're trying our best. I don't know how to answer.
No. I'm glad you brought that up because I feel like that's an important aspect. because I do understand the struggle. I do understand some families, as far as like their socioeconomic situation, it can be very difficult, especially if they live if you're poor. If you grew up in poverty, which I did, by the way. But then they rely on the kids. So I understand that aspect, and but that's why I feel like if you're watching this, and if you're a parent, if you're watching this, and of course you rely on the kids, everybody needs to help out. But I feel like even though as tough as your financial situation may be, I feel like it doesn't hurt just to encourage them to keep that dream alive. Because when it comes to dreams, like you say, it happens when it happens. So if you have to work when you're 18, when you're younger to help out your family, yeah, but at least keep that fire alive that you can still work on your dream after when you get older. Because I know the social media has this perception that we have to succeed early. No, like I've seen people start on their dream at 35, at 40, at 50. They finally started working towards their dream, and then they still became highly successful. So I feel like it is important to keep that fire alive within the child. So I understand, and we have to make sacrifices for our own families, for our own survival. Of course, I get that, but we shouldn't just blow off that dream or totally discourage a child on their dream just because life is tough.
Yeah.
And that's just my perception of it. And also for everybody out there, if understand that when somebody, that's why it's so important to encourage your kids to be successful, because they can change the cycle of the financial situation of your family. All it takes is one person, and if generation to generation that you've as a family that you stayed in the same, I guess the same financial situation or bracket your whole life. That's why it's important to encourage your kids, because if they do better, then the family does better. And that's something that drives me every single day. What I'm trying to do for my family, like I want to be the first person in my family to create generational wealth, and I want to break that cycle within my family, because I've grown that whole as a child. I know what that feels like to not have enough food and not have money. So that's one of the things that drives me today. But I kind of just want even though I didn't receive the seed, there was no plantation at all. But that's something that I work towards. I want to go back and go back and definitely help my family financially by succeeding. But that's how if you're a parent, if you're a sibling, whatever, you should always encourage your kids to do better, because if they win, we all win. That's what I see it. If you win, one person, you've seen it so many times. I see successful people just change the whole generation of the cycle of their family based on their success. And I feel like that's something we definitely need to help. That's why we need to encourage the kids, because I just feel like, a lot of the things we struggle with can be avoided with the good financial stabilization within the family, because, poverty, the lack of money, that creates so many problems. So many problems. The high, I don't know, I just saw a stat the other day. I was doing some reading, like the divorce rate right now in America is like 50%, something like that. Yeah. You know what the number one reason for divorce is?
I think it's like finances, right?
Finances, exactly. So that's why we should be encouraging our kids to do better, to go, because that's why I see a lot of families get broken up because of the finance situation. And it's so sad to see, because families can't be together because they don't have the finances. And so we definitely need to break that. So that's my thoughts on it. And thank you for sharing your part.
No, sorry, I don't really know how to
ask. I do want to go also another thing your dad did, and I felt like it's really, really cool. Yeah, you know what? If I see your dad one day, I'm gonna give him I'll give him like a fist bump or something. Like, what's up? I don't know if you know what that fist bump is, but if I see your dad one day, I'm like, yo, what's up, man? Great job. You're famous now. Everybody knows who you are. Your dad's it's gonna go viral. Yeah. Everyone's like, who is this guy? We need to figure out who is this guy. Get him on the podcast. I was joking. I love what he did. Something your dad did. he took you with him in everything he did, and he allowed you and because traditionally for Polynesian women, they're supposed to stay at home, but your dad took you everywhere. I mean that's why you shared, right? But which is kind of abnormal when it comes to like the family tradition or dynamic of how our Polynesian girls are raised. Because when I grew up, Polynesian girls stayed inside the house. My sisters, my female cousins, they stayed in the house all day, every day, and then the guys, we lived outside the house. We had our own little different little hut. But I would never see. In Tonga we call it ngawe uta. We go to the farm and go work. And I have never seen. Just think about my own memories in Tonga. I've never seen a dad take his daughter personally, one-on-one and go to Aruki Uta, go to the bush, right? I have seen families, like we all go as a family to Uta. I've seen that happen. We go as a family, but I've never seen a dad just take his daughter, and personally and go, and then it was just kind of abnormal when it comes to just the traditions. But I feel like that's kind of cool because like I loved how he showed you, he expanded your perspective to see, hey, this is what we're going through in life. And I feel like a lot of times, in my opinion, and I've heard this conversation with a lot of Polynesian women and men too, but I think it particularly happens to Polynesian women that a lot of them said that they feel like they were sheltered too much in their life. And they never allowed them to experience things. They never allowed them to go outside the house. So they never, but by the time, they go in real life, they were unprepared because they've been living inside the house their whole life. Yeah. And then when they finally become an adult, okay, it's time to go figure out your life now. And then they go into the real world, like, oh my God, what is this? Yeah. Because you've been living in that, inside that one perspective your whole life. But I love how he just took you outside of it, and he took you everywhere, showed you different perspective, showed you what he did, because it allowed you to see things and have a perspective that, okay, this is all the hard work that he's doing, the effort he puts in, and I feel like that's so important in life as far as when it comes to like what we're trying to, when it comes to growth. It's good to have to build a perspective to understand, not always believe what you see in reality, and to be able to see, okay, even though I may face this situation in life, but I have a perspective to see there's something I can go around it. Yeah. And not only, and not be just like one dimensional. So can you talk about that? Just, your dad taking you to different places, and how's that formed your perspective you have now, and how has that helped you now, knowing that, your dad shows you what hard work is. I think that's cool what he did. He shows you like what hard work is. Yeah. Because, hard work is something a lot of kids don't have nowadays.
For me, my dad, I will say, I think the biggest thing was also he just didn't have any sons. So it's easier to have like a child to kind of like to do the little work that you need. Yeah. So like for that was definitely one of the biggest things. So and definitely if it was something specific for like my needs, like sometimes like there were things like my dad had to pay for just me versus like my other siblings, and that's like he was like, okay, this is you got to do this because this is your job, and I know he's done that for my brothers, like this is specific for you, like you're gonna come and work here. But I think he really, I think from a young age, he consistently even says this now, like the only thing he wants out of life for him is to make sure that I can be able to be successful on my own. And I think he's never been the type for me to, like, he never wanted me to rely like on a man. And I think that's like something like he's always like, when I grew up, like I think he's like, it's so crazy because he's honestly one of the biggest feminists, but he's also very like, it's a weird combination.
Yeah, it's like masculinity and feminism. Yeah.
And I think like for him, like just like being able to set me up in a way, like, and I think he's just like, I don't know if it's because he had daughters first for a long time, like he just grew to that and he just took on that like that girl dad thing. But it's just something that was like super important for him. And I think like even now he's like, like one day you're gonna find a husband and like they're gonna take your last name, right? And I'm like, no, Dad, like I don't know. Like he's so like I think he's so proud of like daughters now. Like he's just like he like I remember like I think because like especially his relationship with my mom, like it's very traditional, but then I think realizing like he wants like his daughters to do more than like he's done and to do more than my mom has done. And like for him, like a lot of that was like just exposing me to different environments. And I know like my dad would have like sometimes like meetings with people and he would like have me sit there like on the side, like just listening to them. And it was like learning how to like communicate effectively or learning like this is how this person communicates, like how to like just listening. And I think like listening to the way like people not in our community like speak and stuff. And I think that's been like super important. And I think that's also like one of the things like I always think about. Like I remember when I was little, I was like, Mom, like why do we need to like do all this like English stuff so well? Like why do we have to like I remember I was like actually crying because I'm like, Mom, like I don't want to like they were like my parents were really big on just harping like being like so like good at English and being well spoken and being well written and well read about like just like a lot of things. And I think like I remember like I was just crying and I'm like, Mom, like I don't want to do this. Like I want to do more like Tongan stuff. Like I want to like I'm more into this. And my mom was like just my parents like they just sat me down. They're like, we just know like how many opportunities this is going to open up for you. Like one day you're going to have to sit and take a standardized exam. Like, do you want to get like, and you know, it's like, I think like at the time I was hurt because I'm just like, I just want to do my cultural stuff. I want to do my Tongan stuff. But like, I think looking at it now, I'm like I can like take certain standardized tests. I can look at like paragraphs and paragraphs and stuff and being able to like pick out like things and just being able to like synthesize information quickly and being able to communicate effectively has been like something that I think like my dad really exposed me to early on. And then just like throughout my life just having them do that for me. And like I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just like all those like little experiences actually really like built up and like made it my life so much easier and made my transition into like the academic world a little bit easier. Because I know that we do have like students not here but elsewhere like they like English isn't their first language. English isn't like is something like maybe it is their first language but it's not something like they're as well spoken in, and it makes it so much harder for them to succeed in certain areas in our academic field in medicine. Like just having people like question your information validity, like having people like talk about you. And I think like just being comfortable in what you know and who you are like is so important. And a lot of that comes back to just being able to be like read and understand and like synthesize information. I don't know, that was kind of long-winded and sorry.
No, it's good. No,
Yeah.
have you ever had like a, I don't know, you even showed an example of real life. Have you ever had like a situation in your life like, I mean, just looking back at it now, it was pretty difficult, but your perspective kind of like helped you overcome it? There's anything that, yeah, like something happened to you but you didn't see, I mean, you chose not to focus on the negative part of it. And because you just had to understand, yeah, because you just had a unique perspective that you can overcome it because of what you've seen from your dad. Do you ever had the situation before?
Actually, like I feel like there's definitely like personal experiences where I yeah, I there have been a lot of personal experiences where I felt like I couldn't overcome it. And I think there were difficulties where I felt like this is like where this is all I'm gonna do at this point in my life. Like this is it. And like I don't know if like I'll ever be able to do anything more. And I think for me, I think it's just
Anything, anything specific, like you want to share like a specific experience that you're willing to share with everyone? That's be kind of cool to listen to.
I don't know. I don't know. Wait, can you ask me the question again?
No, I'm saying like, do you have a specific? Do you have a specific story or something that happened that was pretty difficult in your life, but even though it was a difficult obstacle, it was pretty negative. But I guess you know your perspective of what your dad taught you helped you overcome it and keep going. Anything comes to mind? You want to share, everyone?
I don't know. I don't.
No, it's good. It's all good. It's all good. If you can't, it doesn't. Nothing rings a bell, but it's all good.
I feel like they might be a bit too personal for me to
Huh?
want. I think they might be a little bit too personal for me to want to
Okay.
share.
All right. I got you. All right. Um. So I do. So I'm so happy that we got a chance to talk about the different things that your dad allowed you to, I guess, grow mentally as far as your mindset. Uh, I guess what I want to talk about now is kind of go a little bit more deeper of how your dad helped you grow emotionally um, as a woman. Um, um, and I guess this opens up into like when it comes to emotions, they could also go into relationships, but so I just want to ask you, like, what are things that, based on your experience with your dad, um, how did that help you grow emotionally and to go emotionally mature as a woman, also to have a healthy relationship with your own emotions, and also like you said, I think you said it, like attracting the right man into your life because you saw your dad. I feel like as men and women, we go through, I guess, like the type of emotional connection or let's say, I don't know if it's a better word, but attachment. I don't know if that's a good word, but I guess emotional connection that we have with our mom and our dad as men and women, that's usually the emotional connection we go out there to the world and try to attract into our life. So we had a good discussion about mental, but I feel like emotional is something that's really important that we definitely need to talk, especially when it comes to kids, because I feel like a lot of kids are emotionally detached because when it comes to feelings and being vulnerable and talk about expressing ourselves, that this is kind of not existent in the Polynesian culture, in the Polynesian household, because number one, our parents are tough, like very tough. And also, by the way, I just want to throw it out there, like I know we're talking about a lot of our parents and what they go through, and I want everybody to understand. I think there's something I want to just put out there for a lot of kids to understand. As difficult or maybe as lack of understanding or how hard your parent may be, just understand that our parents grew up in a different way, and they were taught different things, and they grew up in a different time. So I just want you to understand that, because I remember growing up, I used to have, because of my lack of communication and relationship with my emotional connection with my own parents, sometimes it did create sometimes feelings of resentment within myself, to kind of resent my parents at times, and that's just my own personal experience. But as I matured as a man and started to understand psychology and human behavior, how people operate, how they think, and how when it comes to the environment, I realized, oh wait, my parents actually just raised me the best way they know how, and they love me the only way they know how. And once I understood that, it was like it allowed me to like stop blaming, being a victim, and be like, you know what, my parents raised me the best way they knew how. It's my responsibility as a man is to take that and build off that, and make sure I make the changes I need to make within my own life, so I can be the best man that I can be. And I know a lot of times as kids, because we don't have to understand with our parents, or we don't have the communication, we don't have the love, the affection, your parents don't take you at all, you have no one-on-one time with your parents at all. A lot of times we feel like we have the worst parents in the world, because we see other parents, like hugging and loving and embracing their kids, and having quality time with their kids. That sometimes we think we have the worst parents, but just understand that our parents, um, they grew up in a different time, and if they don't understand you, it's because they have a different mindset. And the same way that we want our parents to accept and embrace us, we have to be willing to reciprocate that and accept and love our parents as they are, and work on finding some kind of common ground. So just want to put it out there first. I just want people, to have that wrong impression that we just think all these things and about the parents. But no, I understand that I love my parents to this day, because number one, I wouldn't be who I am today if they didn't give me the type of parenting they did give me. So if they would have given me emotional love and support like your dad, I don't think I'll be doing this today. I'll probably be a doctor, right, or something. I probably wouldn't be a podcaster. so
God
huh?
needs you. this is where God needed you, and it worked.
Exactly. um, but yeah, so can you talk about what your dad did to help you grow emotionally? To be in touch with your own emotions, to have faith in your own emotions as a woman, also to know what to go when you go out there, when it comes to building relationships, what to attract into your life, and what when it comes to emotion, when it comes to the emotional aspect of it, because I feel like that's really important. Because I know, like I mentioned before, we, a lot of kids are so detached when it comes to their emotions because we're taught to suppress it. Because we go into, our parents can be very traditional, very tough. There's no communication, there's no lack of understanding, so everybody is just closed off as individuals. So everybody bottles their emotions in. A lot of people don't recognize or aware of what they're going through emotionally. Of course, to be expressive, to be emotional within the Polynesian community, sometimes in our culture that can be seen as weak, because we're very prideful people. So sometimes if a man talks about his emotions, everybody's like, "Oh, that dude's weak. That dude's you're not a man," And even if a woman does it, if a woman comes out, they're like, "Oh, like they think like, oh, you're a weak woman or man because you're very emotional, or you express how you feel." And I think you were talking about it. I think you said it. You were like, it's hard to find Polynesian men who are very vulnerable. I think you said it too. They're very in touch with their emotions to be able to connect with you. All Polynesian men are just like have that tough exterior skin, and they pretend they're really tough. But so a lot of them, me personally, I know a lot of guys. Like if you meet, I have a lot of friends. You meet them, you think that these guys are hardcore gangsters. Hardcore gangsters. I have a lot of that in my family, and but if you really get to know them, because I know them, they're very emotional and emotional people. But I really believe it's so important. I feel like that we need to pay attention to the emotional health of our kids, make sure we help them develop it in a healthy way, and for women as well, to give them confidence. And then I guess you could talk about the female perspective, confidence also, like how that helped you also when it comes to like going out to the real world, meeting new people, finding the right type of love from the right people, when it comes to the emotional level, because I really like everything starts at home. That's why I really like we have to build that love, that natural, healthy emotional health within kids. And if you don't mind, you want to go into that.
Uh, I don't know. I think one of the things I think that I learned from just like both my parents is just being vocal about things that you want. And I think
Mhm.
that's important, not in just like a relationship with like a significant other, but with friends or with work friends or anything like that. That has been like the biggest thing like I look for, like if like being able to be vocal and also being able to be with people who can understand like, okay, this is not personal, like this is just like for the betterment of myself, this is for the betterment of the relationship, things like that. But I think like that's also been super vital in just developing me emotionally. And I think like I'm still working on it. I think emotionally, I think I'm also kind of like a little kid still, because I do tantrums and stuff, but I think it's something that like when I'm interacting with people, like it's been easier for me to be like, okay, like that just like pissed me off, like, or I'm like this, like I'm just more open about it, whether I'm like at school and I'm like, okay, well this really sucks, like can you like do this and this, like, and it can make things better. And I think that's like one thing that I feel like emotionally that my parents have kind of developed in me. And it's weird because like whenever I speak up in certain areas, especially like in educational areas, it's funny how many people actually relate, and like just like a lot of people just don't haven't people a lot of people are still real insecure in their feelings. And I think just that my dad has like always allowed me to, I guess, like complain a lot. So like when I do complain, I don't feel like it's like bad. So like when I complain publicly, whether it's like in a relationship with like my boyfriend or like in a relationship with like the rest of my classmates, like it's not something that I feel embarrassed about. I'm complaining because I think it's important, and I think it's something that I feel needs to be addressed and needs to be heard. And I think that's one of the biggest things like I've learned. And as for other things, I'm not really sure what other aspects my dad has taught
Yeah.
me. There's a lot of things that he's like, I'm like, okay, dad, I don't want someone like that. But I think being able to be a leader, I think that's also been helpful for just my own development. I think watching him, I think my dad is naturally a leader in his own respects. And I think
Mhm.
me developing as like into a young adult, like I've realized I've assumed a lot of leadership positions and I've assumed a lot of just like roles in my community. And I think it's just come on naturally. And I think like when it comes to looking at other relationships with other people, I think that's actually something, especially with like other Tongan men or other Polynesian men, I think it's something that can be kind of like, I don't know, it's not something that people typically prefer because I feel like I realize I can actually be very headstrong with a lot of things and I come with like a lot of opinions and I'm not afraid to speak up. And I think that's when it can get difficult, especially if you have grown up in a different style. I think um, through the years I've realized like some I think even like with just some of my cousins, like, like they don't want this girl telling them about things that they don't know, or they don't want this girl like
Mhm.
speaking up or making points or debating with them. And I think because I grew up in a household where I wasn't allowed to talk back, but for like there were instances where, like I can plead my case, I can debate, I can talk it out. And I think for me, I just being so comfortable in taking up that space where like in relationships, I expect that. I expect like all of the things that I'm talking about to hold a lot of weight and I don't shy away from like conflict, if
Mhm.
that makes sense. And I think like for a lot of my friends, I realize like, like they're not I think I definitely can start conflict early on because I think I'm not the type to like let little things slide by, which can also make things difficult in its own way. But I think I'm very open and I've always been open with a lot of people in my life. And I'm also very open in conflict and open to talking things out. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's like my thing, which I guess I'm not a lot of people type. So it kind of limits my opportunities if I were not taken.
No, good. No, appreciate it. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, because I feel like it's. I think that's an area of deficiency that we. I noticed that it's tend to be overlooked within the growth of a child when it comes to punishing homes. We don't really talk about emotions at all. At all. I mean, sometimes we don't even realize um, uh, we have emotions. That's good. I remember a lot of times, like like I'll talk with my guests on my show, or I talk with some my friends or family, and a lot of them will say, "Yeah, I didn't even know what happiness. I didn't know what sadness was." That's only yeah, like that's what they would say on. Some of them have said that on my show, like they didn't know what sadness was, because they've been taught to have this tough exterior, to be strong all the time. That even when they were sad, they try to cover it up and mask. I'm no, and I don't know what this is. I need to be strong and just and focus what I got to focus on. Uh, but they weren't aware that they were sad or they were struggling emotionally, and because they just had this belief that they couldn't be like that, until things just got really really tough emotionally, and the burden was too much, and then they broke down. And then of course once they finally went to a therapist or got educated on mental health and emotional health, they realized, oh wait, I am sad. I am depressed. I am going through something. So I'm just interested to you, like, what did you do? What did your dad do? Like, are there any moments specifically in your life you look back of something your dad did or might have said to you that made you appreciate your own self-worth as a woman, like your value um, and your confidence in yourself emotionally? Because I feel like I know we talked about before how important it is to be there for our kids when they suffer and when they're vulnerable. That's the time I feel like that we need to be there for them. And I know at times I meet a lot of men and women who feel like they have a lack of sense of self-worth, of self-value, because they just never felt that either the emotional connection or that love from their parents to feel special. they feel significant in this world. And a lot of people feel like they have no self-worth or self-value because they just never felt that or been told that their whole life. And that's why I really believe it's important to tell you to love your kids and show, not only tell them you love them, but show it. And if you, so they feel that, so they know they are valuable, they know they are significant, they know they are important, and they are worthy in this world. So, is there any specific things you remember growing up from your dad that you willing to share that definitely reminded you how special you are, how beautiful you are, how powerful you are, and how valuable you are as a woman, and that definitely helped you?
I think I don't know if it really counts, but like my dad is very good at like actually my mom too. My mom and dad are very good at just like remembering every little accomplishment. Like
Mm-hmm.
I remember like just like they just remind me all the time of those little accomplishments. Like recently my dad was like, hey, remember when you passed that last exam? Like remember how well you did? Like that, like, and I think it's just like those things that like really uplift me. And I think whenever like I'm feeling down, like my dad is like, you are like so smart, you're this and that. And I think it's just like those normal things that I just get to hear on a constant daily basis that just like make the biggest difference. I I just remember like even when I was like telling my dad like, oh, like I'm like interested in dating someone, you know, like things like that. And like for him, like he's just like, oh, okay, but you do know you're like super smart, like you're gonna do like great things, like just make sure, you know, like he just reminds me like if you're gonna do that, but just remind yourself that you're gonna do great things, regardless of this person. Like, okay, you're gonna date, but you're gonna do all this instead. Like, it's like okay, that's like that fun thing on the side, but this is what you like. This is your purpose. This is what you're gonna do, and you're gonna do great things. And I think like that's. I think like it's funny because I feel like it's also trickled down to my brothers because I just remember like I was like real down one day and like you know like I think like those kind of qualities passed down to my brother and I just remember like I was real sad one day and my brother like turned to me and he was like, you know, like you're so beautiful, you're so like great, like you're gonna do all the things you want to do, like. And I think it's like crazy that like you know like if my dad's not speaking life into me, if my mom's not, like somehow like it passed down to my brothers and now they're just like you're so smart, like if you're sad over someone, like who cares because you're so like you're
Next.
yeah, like and I feel like that's like a quality that I really appreciate, that it's been handed down like through the grapevine. And now like I can see myself doing that. Well, I guess I'm a little bit worse off because I think I'm not as encouraging as I think I'm more of a strict type. But like we do that for each other now, regardless of if our parents are able to. So like me and my siblings, like we're always constantly trying to uplift each other in the same way. And I think it's like reminding each other of our values and how valuable we are in the world in relationships. So
Yeah, yeah, you guys are good brothers.
they're little, well, they're not that. They're college and senior in high school, so they're still.
Yeah, so I hope what everybody takes from this is like how important it is to show your child unconditional love. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Because a lot of, like I said, man, I've made so many beautiful men and women, right? Just like have no sense of self-worth, have no sense of self-beauty, have no sense of self-value. They just feel like they're not special, they're insignificant, and they're so detached from their feelings. And also, not only the detachment feelings, they're not willing to open up to anybody else to come into their life because they've been told, because they never just either they've never been told that or their parents unintentionally. I mean, like I said, like you mentioned before, sometimes parents do things they're not aware of it. Like we talked about sometimes like, when you have a lot of financial responsibility, every kid's got to work. So every situation is different, but I just see it because of the lack of it. That a lot of kids struggle emotionally, a lot of struggle with their own feeling their own feeling special, feeling beautiful about their own self, about themselves. And I feel like we gotta hug our kids a lot more, I guess. I'm trying to think right now in my life, how many times do I get a hug? Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Oh my, yeah, I'm trying to think how many times did I ever get hugged. I think we did it. If we hugged, I feel like every single time I got hugged, I feel like it wasn't like a there was a reason behind it. Either it was a birthday or if it's it was there was something, but it wasn't just a general, hey, like you see your daughter, your son, just hug him, right? So I see that a lot. It's sad to me when I see all these beautiful Polynesians, but not only physically, like mentally, spiritually, emotionally, they're just beautiful people in general within. But they're just like they don't feel don't feel beautiful. Not only with their own intellect, with their own emotions, with their own body, and it's just because they just didn't feel that from the emotional connection and appreciation from their parents, because our parents is very old school. It's very old school. I remember somebody posted something on TikTok. I think it was hilarious. It was like, they're like my parents. They were like, I think there's like my parents. I've never seen my parents show affection to each other at all, but they had like 11 kids. It was like a joke. I was dying. I was dying when I saw that, which is true. Like, like we barely see no affection between our parents and each other, but but they don't have no trouble procreating kids though. I thought that was hilarious to me. I was just thinking about, I was like, I've barely seen my parents, embrace each other at all. But it's just, but I feel like, but that's, I wanted to bring that up. Anybody's watching, how important it is to like just hug your kid, just hug your kid, that you don't have to always wait for like a specific event or they have to accomplish something. You don't know how impactful it is just to hug your kid, just to let them know, remind them like, they are special and they are feel valued and they are appreciated. Because I feel like part of life, like you have to know your sense of self-worth. We just talked about being confident. Like you have to be confident going to life. You go to life and you're not confident, it's gonna be a rough ride for you. But also, I feel like it's also important as a child to have a sense of self-worth going into this world, because a lot of times life will tend to kind of diminish your self-worth or try to tell you what your worth is. And if you don't have a healthy relationship with yourself, a healthy relationship with your feelings, healthy relationship with who you are, then you become susceptible to people manipulating you or telling you what your worth is or what your value is. And then that's why I see a lot of people stay in toxic jobs, toxic relationships, toxic situations. It's because they just don't have that healthy sense of, I guess, love within themselves that they just weren't given. So that's really, that was a pretty good topic right there. And like I said, anybody watching, I would love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. And if you know how many times your parents hugged you, drop a comment below too. I would love to hear that number. I'm interested to see, the statistics on that. It was pretty high or pretty low or zero. Drop a comment below. Let me know. I know we spent a lot of time talking about your dad. I do want to, so shout out to your pops one more time. I want to transition and talk about your mom, the impact that she has had in your life. And I know you did mention that you probably had a strong connection with your dad, and I can tell you're a daddy's girl. But can you talk about your mom and the impact that she had on you? I guess we can start with the mental side, mentally, just what you saw, how she impacted you to be like kind of be the woman you are today. And I'm just interested to hear that part of your life.
I think for a long time, I never understood my mom. I think it was just more because of the fact that I was being raised to be like a strong woman, like a type of woman to like that will go to the career field and do certain things. And then, I think it was always hard for me because I would be like, oh, like mom, like why don't you do the same things that like that you guys are inspiring us to do? And I think it was just like me not understanding the value of her role in the home. And I know like there were times where I think for me I just couldn't understand like if we're going through these difficulties, like do we need someone to stay at home with us? And I think I was definitely ignorant in a lot of those things because I see like it's crazy because now like when I talk to like people about like certain things that they've done when they were like young and like at a young age, and I'm like, where were your parents? Like, and then like, you know, it's just like, oh, like they were working, or my mom like just let us go. And I think like, I guess I was definitely sheltered in that way, that like, you know, like someone, my mom was always home with us and she always stayed in the living room where it was the only way you could exit the house. So it was like very like, she was a very good stay-at-home mother. And I think for me, just trying to put together the things that I was being taught with like looking at my mom as like a stay-at-home mother, I think for a long time it took me too long to understand like the value in all of that. And I think like now I just feel like junk because I'm like, dang, like I want to be able to do that for my kids one day. And then I'm like, well, also like, what am I gonna do now? I'm gonna be a working mother. So like I think like I get real sad because like I want to be able to give my kids one day like that type of environment where they have like just consistent like guidance and like security at home. And yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of like what she's done for me. And it's just a lot of little things that just made my life easier.
Okay, so if you had to narrow it down, what are the biggest things you could take away from your mom that you feel like you kind of use today?
Um, she's very, very what is it like? She's like a hard worker. Like she does what she does. Like she works at home, but she does it with, she's so good at what she's excellent in. Like, so my dad is excellent outside of the home, but my mom is
Mm.
excellent inside of the home. And I'm not sure if it's because she said like in Tonga she was like the best at home economics or whatever. I don't know what that means, but like she would always like talk about like she was like so good at that stuff. But
You know, home economics is a subject in school you study in high school.
yeah, she would always, I don't really know because I didn't grow up
Yeah,
going
yeah.
economics, but she would talk about that. So I think like she was just really good at like being there. Like when I needed something to eat, she was like, okay, like what do you want? Like what do you need? Like, and like she was very good at catering to her kids in a way. And I guess you could call us spoiled in that too. Just because like, you know, there were certain things like my mom tried her best to accommodate for us. Even if it was just silly things like I want something sweet. And my mom was like, well, we don't have anything sweet. And I'm like, well, I want something sweet. And then like my mom would go and pick lemons off like this little mealy tree in the back and enough, like, you know, make lemonade or like, and I think like just like she always gave us like she did like a every night dinner time we all ate our dinner, like, and it was just like a consistent thing. And I think I don't know what it is about routine that like is, I don't know if it's like just important for me now in like home dynamics. Like, okay, like now we all like this is dinner time, this is what we're gonna eat. Um and then like I don't know, it just I think it just like helped develop me into just being that type of person that like that appreciates the routine, and then also like gave me like a place where I could come home and I guess like feel relieved because I know like I can't control everything else, but everything in the home, like this is controlled for. This my mom did. My mom set up this home place. Like my mom made sure like there's no creeps at home. There's no like like there's nothing, like she was so good at like just making sure like, you know, like she didn't allow for like a lot of sleepovers. She didn't allow for like a lot of like us like doing weird things, that like it just provided the the environment that I needed to feel okay and just be at home and I don't have to worry about a lot of things. And I think I was definitely so privileged for that. I know that a lot of like my cousins or a lot of my friends and family may not have all had that. And I think I guess it really just goes back to she provided a lot of stability. Yeah. I don't know if that's like a good answer.
Is your mom like is your mom very traditional? Like
Yeah.
with the Tongan culture?
Yeah, that's why it's also the reason why I guess I didn't get along with her very much growing up. Like I think even now it's actually so difficult for me to kind of navigate that because she wants a lot of things done a certain way, and in my head, it just doesn't seem possible right now because of like, like the things that I want to do or the road I'm trying to travel on. It's hard to be traditional when a lot of other people haven't navigated that road, and then like,
Yeah.
keep certain things as traditional as possible.
Do you mind sharing some of the things that she wants you to follow traditionally, but it's something that you feel like it's not kind of aligned with what you're trying to do for your life?
Yeah. Okay, well, I don't know if I'm gonna get some flack for sharing. Um, I know the biggest thing for her, like right now, like that we always are constantly trying to talk about is the dating thing.
Yeah.
I know how stupid, but it's just like she's so traditional in the dating thing, and like um so I couldn't find anyone in Hawaii, and then I found someone in LA. But then in LA, like it's like a long distance thing. And then my mom wants to do things a certain way, like just the normal Tongan thing. But like I can't do that like from a long distance, but also from like because I'm in this career path.
What Tongan thing? I'm trying to.
Like okay, well she just wants to honestly, I think she just wants me to not date because she wants me to wait till later. So then, because okay, so we have this talk where she's like, well, like you need to do like the Tongan engagement, like the just like literally, it's just like all these like formalities, like like to date in front of the parents and like the to do the whole meeting stuff, and
Oh,
like
like he has to come and meet and ask for their permission or
yeah,
something like.
it's just like all that stuff. Like, honestly, I think I get confused because when I talk to my mom, and then when I talk to like some of my older cousins who have been through that, and then for some reason I get a little bit of different things. But also my mom's side of the family, I think they've done a little bit more of my mom. I guess some of my cousins have done like arranged marriages and stuff like that.
Oh wow,
So
wow!
it's like
It's 2021, y'all.
and so my mom, like she feels very like I think a little bit more liberal that she lets me pick who I want to date, who I want to love, if they're Tongan. But it's just like, like I think she's just not comfortable with that whole dating thing. And she's also like a strong believer in you don't tell anyone you're dating, you don't you're not seen publicly dating. You're like, if you're gonna date, you're gonna date in the living room with your family all watching you. And I think like for me, I was just like, Mom, like I can't do that. First of all, he's like over there. Second of all, like I'm like in school, like I'm literally gonna be in school for the next like 4 years, and then after that, I'm gonna do like another educational thing that's like another 5 years, and then another like three years for like other stuff like regarded to my career. And I'm just like, it doesn't make sense right now, like trying to do certain things like I don't know. Like she's like, okay, well, we wait till you're done with school, and I'm just like, I'm gonna be 35-ish,
Yeah.
I'm done, and then I don't know. It's just like a lot of like the timeline, and then like the way she wants it done. I can't do that.
Does she
With
want you to make? Does she want you to get married early, before 30? Oh no. Okay.
no, well, actually, I
Because
don't.
that's something I hear a lot of Polynesian girls. A lot of because most the times traditional parents like they push for younger marriages. That's based on
Yeah.
what I see. But your mom just is cool with, yeah.
My mom is. I think because she thinks like if you're in school, you're still kind of young. So like she's just like, no, you're gonna be young. Like you're gonna finish school, and then you can do it then. And we're just like,
Yeah.
and then it's just like I think all the formalities and stuff is just
Yeah.
it's just like too much for me to try and figure out, and I'm trying to navigate it all the time. And then she also has like this belief where like like she doesn't want us visiting each other either. Which is it's like she's like, I don't understand why you guys have to visit each other. You guys are dating, aren't you? I was like, yeah, but like that's the whole part of like, like if I'm in LA, I want to see. And she just I think for a long time it was hard for her. She was like, if you're in LA, why do you have to see him? Like, or like if you like for a while she was like, why does he have to come to Hawaii to see you? And I'm like, because mom, like we're dating, like, and I think that's like hard for her because she wants to do it where like you don't actually start hanging out, I guess, until you're like actually going to
Yeah,
give
like in the traditional Tongan, there's no dating.
yeah. And I think
there's no dating phase.
yeah
You get married and then you figure it out
And then I remember I was talking to her past winter break, and she was like, I just don't understand. Do you want to get married right now? Like, is that what you're doing right now? And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. She's like, then I don't understand. And it's just like a constant communication of like what is going on. And I think it also might go back to like maybe I'm not fully understanding all of the traditions. But I also don't know how to navigate it in where I'm at in my life. And maybe you know more about it. You could probably give me tips, but I don't know.
Oh no, I'm not the guru when it comes to dating advice. no, but I do understand the culture because traditionally, everything she said, that's pretty much. I remember my own parents, they broke it down, but usually if a guy wants to get married, wants to pursue a girl, you have to go to their parents, ask for permission, and then you just set a date. There's no dating. It's just agreement. It's more of like it's like an agreement already. I know that sounds kind of like harsh saying like that, but that's usually the way it works. Like you meet the parents, you get permission from the dad, and then you make an agreement. Then and that's why when she said like, why would you have to see him? Because because that's how it is back in the day. Like you make the agreement. You already know you're married, so that you don't have to see him. It's already bond. The agreement's already been made. And then of course, I guess tradition. I guess now in our culture, in our generation, it's different now. There is we do date, but I guess tradition, very old school parents and old school Tongans, like even if they are open to dating, even though, because I've seen opening the old school Tongans, like they do allow their kids to date, but for them, they're like, if you date somebody, the intention is always for like marriage. Now you're dating for marriage. You're not dating. There's no dating just to date, and which I also respect, by the way. I think that's I think that's healthy to teach your kids. If you're gonna date somebody, date for marriage, because like nowadays I just see a lot of people dating for just a date and then wasting people's time and breaking people. And then I feel like it's really good to date with the purpose and not just date with the date. So I guess I can see it both ways. But yeah, it's so that's the back and forth, the challenges you have with your mom. Does you guys disagree with the dating part?
Yeah. I think that might be like the biggest thing. And I think with my mom, I think she's the one that normally has more expectations of me than I think for me. I feel like I'm always, when I think about like disappointing my family, I'm always thinking like, oh, I'm disappointing my mom. Like, and I think it's just that she's always held all of us to like a higher standard, which sometimes I'm like, I don't know how anyone can meet your standards. And I think like it's funny when I tell people what like my mom expects of us. Like I think you can, like people are like, oh, that just doesn't sound very realistic. Like, like, and I think it's just trying to navigate those things that can be kind of difficult. Yeah.
Have you brought anybody to meet your mom?
Yes.
You've dated? Yeah.
Yes.
How'd that go?
Very. I think she's very nice, but she also gets upset. She gets very upset because she also feels like this is supposed to be only for marriage.
Marriage. Yeah.
She's like I don't want to meet anyone if it's like, but I think she's also been real nice in letting me force her to do these things. My boyfriend now, it took him 2 years before she could meet him, before I let him meet him, because then I'm like, okay, well I've dated you for like 2 years. Actually it's like 2.5 years now, like now.
Yeah.
And then like so I finally brought him to meet my mom. But like, even for my mom, that's way too early. And she's like, okay, it's not too early. Like it's just like you're not getting married, so what is the point? Like, so she's pretty stubborn in that sense.
Did she ask you like any tough questions?
Honestly, she doesn't really engage much, but I think she's more of the type to engage like after, like okay, like
got you.
like yeah. But she's real. I think she's real nice to everybody. Real like my boyfriend, yeah. So.
Okay. So what? I know that's the dating aspect. Maybe something you guys can agree to disagree. What are the things that you guys kind of more aligned with that definitely has added kind of value impact to your life from your mom?
I think my mom is really into a lot of like the culture things, and I think I love learning about like history,
Mm-hmm.
um, learning a lot about like I think because also because I grew up in America and things like that,
Yeah.
being able to learn like little tidbits like throughout my life, and I think like it's funny because like I think I appreciate that my mom is like someone that I find like pretty educated on a lot of things, and it's like it's funny because
Mm-hmm.
like my parents grew up in Tonga, but like my dad doesn't really know like proper like I don't know like there's a certain way of speaking in certain places that my mom can do that my dad can, and like so my dad will when my mom is like the one to help try and groom me in certain things like it's just, she's just very well rounded in that sense, and I think like um she's always like I think like for me I always want to be corrected by my mom first before like anyone else because I think it also goes back to like I want to be taught at home before I go out in the world and like embarrass myself in different Tongan stuff. So I think like even if I do embarrass, at least I'm like, oh, well, I know my mom would be pissed, but I'm gonna do it anyways. Like, you know, like certain things that I think she's she's just she adds a lot of like value and like background to like who I am, where my family comes from, what what we are as like a people, and I really like that.
All right. All right. So yeah, I guess I can tell you your mom wears the pants in the house. Okay. Which is always the case, you know. You know, Polynesian women always wear the pants the pants in every house. Um, I kind of want to transition and shout out to your mom, by the way. Just want to put out there, to your mom. Anyway, she happens to see this, if she happens to watch this. I just want to be on her good side, you know. Shout out to your mom. Shout out to your mom. Um, I kind of want to transition into, you know, I guess I'll kind of focus on you, your passion, your goals, things that you're passionate about, and I'm interested if you don't mind sharing that with the audience. And also, I know you did mention that you were, you know, you're a medical student working to become a doctor one day. But I also saw your profile on IG. I saw you did some modeling. So if you don't mind talk about that experience, I think it's kind of cool to just kind of like, you know, diversify yourself, you know, in different things and have different experiences. I think that's just life in general, the part of the growth, part of growing. Yeah, so can you talk about your life, you know, your passion and your goals, you know, things that inspire you, what do you want to do? I know being the medical field is one of them, but you know, outside of the medical field, and also can you share a little bit of your unique, fun modeling experience also?
I can start off with I guess a prelude into like the modeling thing. I think like growing up, I think I've always been fascinated with cameras for some reason, and I think it was because like for a long time I was the only one at my school. I went to a private school where everybody had cameras except me, and I think I was always like fascinated in them. And then like I just remember like they had like a photography course at the school, and I remember I got to use a couple cameras, and I was like so interested in playing with them. And then it eventually developed into like this thing where I'd be like trying to like put it on this like a counter and try to take pictures of myself, and then like having my little sister eventually jump in and start helping me like take pictures. And I think a lot of that was just like I just had a lot of fun with pictures. And then the modeling thing came about in college when someone just suggested like you're tall, you should try it, plus size modeling. And I think I did like a couple submissions to a couple agencies, and then I just remember I got signed to somewhere. I got signed to a agency, and then it happened to be the same agency that Veronica Pomee was at, and I think like we had done an event through like an outside casting thing, and we had both booked it, and I just remember like being surrounded by actual models and not just like me just like I'm just here like I'm just here gonna so by then I was doing it for like I think like a yearish or whatever, I don't know, but like it was just like being around people like Veronica and just being around a lot of other models where this was like truly their passion, and then just realizing over and over that like this is something that like, like people don't just do this to do it, because it's honestly not that, well, for me it's not that fun, but like for other people they get a lot of out of it, and like this is like a craft and this is something you develop. And I think I just remember like talking to Veronica one night, and just realizing, like, it was like after the show, like just realizing like, like asking her for advice, and like just realizing like her passion there is not where my passion was. And I think like that like was kind of like the moment where I was like, okay, like I'm obviously not cut out for this. Like it's not even that, well, first of all, I actually am not that good at it, especially when you see like people like her in action, and you can see it when she's like in her Sports Illustrated stuff, and just like in all of her modeling things. Like you can see that she has like a talent, she has like something that she's worked on consistently daily. um that is just, it wasn't in me, and it's just one of those things where like I realized like it's not that I was just doing this just to do it. And then so then I um kind of went back to kind of just focusing a little bit more on school, because that's kind of where I think I always wanted to be at, but I felt like in a lot of the spaces that I was in, like that I was actually like not as smart as everyone. And honestly, when I look back at it now, I'm like, damn, like I was actually really smart. Like I was in like a lot of spaces where like when I think back about like my scores and my grades, like I honestly was doing pretty well. Like um so I think like it was just a lot of like for me self-doubt, and like working through that. And then I took some time off after college, and then I just like worked in like medical related fields, and then starting to realize like, oh, I really like working with like patients. I think this is like something that I'm like I'm actually interested in. I like talking to these patients. I like the science behind it. I like being able to do more procedural things and this and that. And I think it just kind of like motivated me, and I'm like, okay, I think I'm ready to take the next step. I'm gonna do medical school after this, and that's kind of how I got here. I don't know if that's like a brief overview of like from like modeling to
Yeah, I'm interested to hear your perspective on this. Was it? Did you see? Was there anything that you took away from modeling that kind of like, I don't know, you learned like something that kind of, I guess added some value to your life that you to help you as a person. And also, I want to ask you, did you receive any backlash from being trying modeling from your own family,
oh yeah.
as traditional as especially when it comes to women showcasing themselves with their body. So I'm interested in those two things.
Okay, first one was,
Yeah, well, anything you took away from modeling that kind
I
of.
think for me it was like the confidence. I think I would see everyone when they would walk on set, like they just always came with this level of like, I know what I'm doing, I'm here, I belong here, and I'm gonna do this and that. And I think it's something that like I want to do. Like it's, I'm off and on about it, but I think like especially when I'm walking into new places, I try to channel that energy. And I think it's funny because I think when like people talk to me, they, or like when they first initially meet me, they feel like I'm confident in things that I do when I'm really actually not. But I think channeling all of those things that I've learned like from those models, like just being confident in who they are and like what they have to bring to the table. And I think it's been super important for me, especially navigating this new road, like just being confident in what I can do in medicine. So that's definitely been the big thing. The modeling thing, that's funny because that's actually the one question I remember. I was sitting on the floor, like, and I was talking to Veronica, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like, how do you deal with that? Because I was like, because at that time, I think like my mom was like very adamant against like, she's like, why do you have to show your body? Like, why you got to show your legs? Like, that's for your
Yeah,
like, like it's like,
totally going opposite of the medical path,
yeah,
right?
yeah. And I think it's funny because like even now, like I remember like when was it, like in like it was like pretty recent, but like my mom is still very upset about like my pictures. And it's funny, like I called her the other week and she was like giving me a lecture about something, but then it also on to like, and do you remember when you posted a picture in a swimsuit? She was like, that's not like, you don't do that, like this is like, it's embarrassing, we don't do that for. And I think it's just something like I'm still learning to deal with, because I always get real sad when I disappoint my parents. But I think I think I'm still navigating that. But I guess it's not necessarily backlash, but I do get like a scolding finger from my mom But as for everybody else, I'm not sure about like the rest of my family because I think I think everybody knows I get the most from my mom, so it's like I already hear it. So and I hear it constantly, so it's something like um whether I'm a model or not, it's something that my mom is gonna have something to say about.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's cool. You know, anybody that any profession, but I think it is cool when I see Polynesian women do model, because I feel like it's a, you know it's a cool example like to all the Polynesian girls. Because I mean, for me personally, like I'm not knowing how many girls out there that suffer with their body positivity and then their lack of self esteem with their own body. And of course, you already know, Polynesians, we're built different. You know, we're built a little different, y'all. We're built a little different, y'all. But difference, but like this, just because we're different doesn't make us beautiful, y'all. So like, you know, it's I know a lot of time. I mean, I know a lot of people. I know a lot of Polynesians suffer with that because you know we live in the social media age today, where we see all these pictures of these models, you know, skinny girls, and we always in the battle of comparison, always comparing ourselves to this, and we look at ourselves like, why are we why are we built this way?
Yeah.
But I want to just express my love to everybody out there to embrace, you know, embrace yourself and love yourself. And I actually believe what makes us unique and different is what makes us absolutely beautiful. Um, you know, being Polynesian, being whatever bigger or plus size, whatever you want to say, I think that's what makes us unique and that's what makes us beautiful as Polynesians. And I feel like we're all unique in our own differences, and I feel like that's something I just want to put out there for all those Polynesian girls and guys, you know, that have insecurity issues with their own body or find it really, really hard to love themselves. I just want to just say my piece and tell you to remind all of you, it's okay to love you, to embrace who you are, and be proud of your our Polynesian, you know, the way we look as Polynesians. Because I feel like I feel like you can't really truly be happy if you don't embrace who you are, and if you don't accept yourself as you are, and of course there's nothing wrong with being healthy, y'all. Just want to put it out there. You know, it's nothing wrong with working out. There's nothing wrong with eating healthy. I know sometimes we eat. I just want to say it out there. Sometimes we eat too much. I just want to give you some tough love real quick. Sometimes we just eat too much, y'all. So we like take care of your body in a healthy way. You know, be healthy. You know, so just when I see that, I know that's a big topic. I just hear it from a lot of people, and that's why it's kind of cool. You know, that's why I love it when I see like Polynesian models. So that way, women can see and like be encouraging. Oh, there's a girl who looks just like me, but up there, you know, doing their modeling thing, and not just see all these other, you know, other models. And of course, there's nothing wrong with them, but because they don't see a representation of their own body out there. So, but to see that on social media, that can definitely encourage. And of course, shout out to Veronica doing the thing. If anybody don't know who she is, you know, Veronica, I guess first Tongan model to be on Sports Illustrated. And if you don't know what Sports Illustrated is, every guy should know. You already know it. If you're a guy, you already know. Don't lie. Don't try to lie. You don't know the Sports Illustrated model section of the website. But yeah, that's really, really cool, really big. So shout out to Veronica. Like I said, I'm a big advocate when it comes for Polynesians elevating themselves in whatever industry they're doing, and the fact that she broke into that industry, and people don't realize how difficult that is. Honestly, yeah. People don't realize how difficult it is for a plus size Tongan woman to break into the Sports Illustrated cover, and it's one of the highest, like the highest, one of the biggest magazines out there right now. So I'm just when I saw that, it was a proud moment. Like, oh yeah. But the Matonga, baby. But the Matonga for life. That's kind of cool. So, but yeah, I'm kind of interested for yourself. Like, I guess I'm really, really big into like getting in touch with your spirituality. Oh no, spiritual. What's the best word for it? I guess purpose. I guess I'll just say purpose. So I want to ask you. I know you want to be in the medical field. But what for yourself, what do you feel like is your purpose in life? I'm just interested. I don't know if you ever think about that, but I'm just interested in your thoughts because I really believe it's really, because, I'm really big on self-growth. Like I told you before, being a motivational speaker is um, one of my goals in life. I just want to travel the islands and tour the islands and speak to the whole community. I think that'd be a dream for me come true. But I do realize the power, how important it is to grow yourself and to develop yourself and to be the best version of yourself. Because I feel like if you take care of yourself, then everything else will manifest itself when it comes to the on the outside. But I really believe having a purpose is really, really important. I know we talked about goals. That's cool. I think having goals is great. Having a dream is great. But I feel like the importance of having a purpose beyond your dreams, beyond your goals, because I feel like if you have a goal and dream, I don't know if you can relate to this. You want to jump in and just share your thoughts, but I see this a lot. And this happened to me before, because for me, I'm a very driven individual. Like, when I want something, like I'm tunnel vision. I'll just put everything into it and we'll go get it. But I realized when I set goals for myself that if I set a goal and I achieve it, once I achieve it, then I lose. Then I become lost a little bit, because I finally achieved it, got it, and then now it's like, now what? If that makes sense. And then sometimes I lose the drive, I lose my passion, I lose my discipline or my work ethic, and my inspiration with myself. Then I fall off a little bit. I fall off the cliff a little bit. Then I have to find, okay, what's next? Okay, I did this, what's next? So I feel like it's important to not only have a dream, have a goal for your life, also have a purpose of why, I guess, the meaning of your life and why did God create you to do in this world. And I guess, my dream is to be a speaker, and be a creator and content creator, and just impact the world in different ways and forms. That's my dream, that's my goal. But I guess my purpose in life, I feel like why God had created me was to impact people, was to use everything that He blessed me with to give back, to make people's lives better and to make this world a better place than I found it. So I feel like that's my purpose, and that's what drives me. So I'm always trying to figure out ways to impact people, whatever it is, whether it's through podcasting, whether it's social media, whatever it's just individual face-to-face and going out there and speaking and sharing my life story. So because of that purpose, it constantly fuels me, if that makes sense. I don't lose my drive. I don't lose my inspiration. And what if this podcasting fails? It doesn't matter, because I can still find a different way to impact people. Podcasting is just another avenue, a platform I use to fulfill my purpose. But I'm trying to use all platforms, any kind of way possible, and that's what purpose does to me. And that's something I didn't realize that for a long time, but I feel like that's very important for people to have a goal and dream, like you mentioned about your dad, by planting that seed within you, but also to know your meaning in life, why your purpose in life, to constantly remind you that you do have a specific reason. And I do believe that, by the way, that we do have a purpose in life. Everything in life has a purpose. Trees have a purpose. The sun has a purpose. The moon has a purpose. Everything, animals, insects, there's a purpose in everything. And you in this world have a purpose. And once you find your purpose and that meaning, then it's really, really hard to dwell in the negativity of the world. It's really, I do have my negative moments, and I do also become depressed at times. But it's really, really hard for me to dwell in my negativity and feel sad, because I remind myself of my purpose of God, I was here to impact people. I don't have time to have a pity party. I need to get back up and go out there, because that's what God created me to do, and that's what allows me to keep going. So I just want to share that piece. I want to ask you, did you ever thought about your purpose in life? And if you do know it, if you don't know, it's fine. But I just want to ask, I'm just interested to hear that, if you can share that with everybody.
I think my purpose is also, I just really want to serve in a lot of underserved communities in the healthcare sector. And I think it's just because of personal experiences and stuff like that. And I think I've always wanted to be like a medical missionary. And I think that goes back into being able to serve in those communities and being able to do the work that I like to do, but also in the communities that I want to be in. And I guess I think it's like a similar purpose as you, as being able to give back and impact people in just a different way though. So.
Okay. All right. Do you do a lot of community work?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, not so much now that I'm in medical school. So, but I do a little bit of community service, and right now I just kind of work with pre-meds, um, just to kind of, especially minority ones, to kind
Mhm.
of help them with their educational journey. Um, but I actually I like working with the homeless population.
Nice, nice.
Hawaii. And then we have like a program at our school, which I'm gonna figure out how to do more when this whole COVID pandemic kind of figures itself out. But like, yeah, definitely things like that. I think that's kind of where I feel like I was called for. I think in college, I think I got to do some missionary work, and I think in Kenya and then in Fiji, and I think I just realized I think Kenya is great too, but I think like I'm definitely drawn to the islands, and I think I'm just it's just like my own personal background plus just like I think I just enjoy the vibes, and
Yeah,
I I like the village communities that I worked in.
nice.
I like the communities that I come from, so I think it's just kind of something that I want to be in. Yeah.
Cool, cool. I could definitely see you doing that, by the way, too. Do you ever see yourself like being like a traveling doctor? Do you ever see yourself doing that, like just traveling the world
I
and
would love,
just healing people and helping people? Is that within the realm of possibility that you could do? You see yourself doing?
yeah, actually, for a long time, I think because I applied to the Peace Corps, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah. That's
yeah,
right. Yeah,
I wanted to do that. But
I
then
could
it just,
totally, I could totally see you doing that. But I just
yeah,
picture it in my head right now.
funny. Some people think I'm too high maintenance for certain things, but I really am not. I think maybe the persona I give off on social media or stuff. But
Yeah,
that's definitely something I have actually always wanted to do, and now it's just a little delayed now that I'm in school, but it's definitely a goal eventually. And I think whenever I think about my future, I need to be able to be with people that are okay with me like wanting to do that, and hopefully I can still manifest that part.
yeah, that's cool. I could definitely see it. You can do. I know. I could. That'd be fun. That'd be funny. No, that'd be really extremely cool. That happens, right? And then I'll be like, oh, remember the podcast? We look back, we were talking about it. Now it's just crazy how life works out. But that'd be definitely cool. That'd be dope. Go out there and be a doctor and travel the world. I mean, for me, just traveling the world is like but I think it's one of the coolest things you can do, and just
Yeah.
travel the world and experience different cultures in different countries. That's hella cool. All right. I'm gonna definitely watch your journey. By the way, after this podcast, I'm gonna pay attention to your journey to see where this goes. But that'll definitely be cool. Uh, I guess the last subject before we come to a close. I guess I know something you wanted to bring up. You wanted to talk about is like Polynesians pursuing a higher education. I know something that's you're kind of passionate about, and I know I've probably mentioned my thoughts already about it. I do believe that's one of the things we can do to definitely help a lot of families, the growth within the families. A lot of the things that we struggle with is just pushing our kids towards a higher education. Because in order to when you pursue higher education, my personal opinion, it allows people to push themselves mentally, to go out there, meet different people, learn different subjects, to expand your mental capacity as a person. Because I feel like a lot of the problems that we deal with in our culture and community is the lack of understanding and the limited. I guess we have limited beliefs in the mindset as far as what's possible for our life when it comes to happiness, when it comes to love, when it comes to life fulfillment and success. So, can you talk? You want to just share your thoughts on that? Everybody that's watching, give them the talk to go out there and pursue higher education.
I don't know. I think there are definitely. I think it is valid that there higher education isn't always for everyone,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I think it's something that I feel passionate about for especially for people, especially for minorities. I feel like we don't always have a lot of resources to get us
Mm-hmm.
places, and I think for a lot of minorities, we don't always know that it's possible for us to get into those doors. And I think it's something that I definitely am really passionate in being able to like help students in that way, especially because I've done my fair share of applications. I've done my fair share of interviews, and all of that. And I think it's something that I feel like I can add value for other students. And I think, especially if you are interested in education, it can definitely be difficult to find other mentors to kind of help you through the process, whether it's like even in high school, like just trying to find jobs, or like in college or opportunities to kind of intern somewhere. I think it's like something that is just, we just need more mentors in. And I think like every single one of us does have the potential to go far in education. We just don't have a lot of the opportunities to, and I think a lot of that just stems from not knowing what we can do, what are our resources, things like that. And I think it's just, I think it can be valuable. And my dad always says like, education is the one thing um, that no anyone can, that cannot, what did I say? My dad always says that education is the one thing that no one can take away from you. And I think it's so valid. And I think it's something that like no matter like what situation I'm in, I can always fall back on that. And I just remember like right out of college, like I didn't, like I got a degree and it was kind of useless in what I wanted to do. Like I remember I couldn't find a job anywhere like because in that specific degree, but then I realized like, okay, it's not just about the degree, like it's not just about that. It's just it's the fact that I can show people like, okay, I went to college, but I also know how to like navigate difficult workload. I know how to manage a course load of like this many units. I know how to work with a group of people that kind of suck, but like I can make it work, like it's just learning different skills that can make you valuable. And I think like when I was applying to jobs, like even if it wasn't like in my degree field, I was able to get a lot of like callbacks and things like that just because I could use all these different experiences and like I guess like frame it in a way that can make me valuable no matter where I am. And I think that's the biggest thing about like getting a degree, whether it's at like a community college or even getting it at the university level, things like that. I think it's just, I think it can be valuable in a lot of ways. Definitely overpriced, but definitely valuable.
I see. Yeah, yeah. And like you said, like just want to put it out there. If college is not for everybody, but if it's for you, go for it. But I just want to, but it is still a great platform, a great path in order to, to be successful. Especially when you, like you said, if you come from the value of education is priceless, I believe. So definitely, I feel like that's something that as parents we don't do. I'm sorry, not as parents. I see a lot of parents do. They don't really push their kids to education. They might tell them that that's something they want, but they don't really push. But I feel like it's really important to create that dynamic of the household to encourage them to go into education because, I feel like it's not me personally. I don't feel like it's about the knowledge, it's about the experience. The knowledge is great what you learn in college, but but sometimes the things we learn in college it has no application to real life. That's just my personal opinion. But I feel like it's the experience, right? Like you have to talk to, like you said, go to class every day. You talk to different people, learn to build connections to all different types of cultures and different people, hear different ways of thinking and perspectives, challenge your minds. There's so many things in the experience of the college life. I feel like that's the most valuable thing. And, the knowledge is just the byproduct of going to college. Just allow people, like I said, when it comes from minority families, to allow people to get out that comfort zone, get out, get out the hood, get out the area, like just get out. Because I feel like a lot of time we just stay within the parameters of the struggles that we grew up in. And of course, if you all keep staying in the same situation your whole life, then that's all you know, and that's all you tend to believe in. That's why it's good to go to college, just to get you outside of it and kind of challenge your way of thinking. Like I said in that video, that was like coming to my run a little bit. It becomes controversy. To all my pods out there, I just want to challenge you. I want to challenge you right now. All right. I guess we've came to the end. I just want to say thank you so much. I would say thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really enjoyed you sharing a life story. You shared a lot of great things, by the way. But I just want to commend you on the courage to speak and I guess be vulnerable and open up yourself a little bit and share your life story to everybody out there to impact somebody that's watching right now. So a lot of people don't realize how strong, how much courage it takes, how much strength it takes for somebody to open up their life to the world, and in the purpose of impacting. So the fact that you opened up yourself today and allowed yourself to be seen to the whole world, the whole world. I just want to thank you so much, and thank you. I just want to give you a big hug, big Polynesian hug right now. But I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time. I'm very grateful for this opportunity, for sharing your life story with us. I guess the last thing I want to ask you, I always ask every guest on this show, at the end, if you just share some final thoughts to everybody, some words of wisdom, and then we can close off the podcast with that. So everything you've gone through in your life, you shared today, just share with them some final thoughts, some final words of wisdom, and then we can close off the podcast with that.
I don't know if it's any wisdom, but I think I just have more encouragement. I think that we are people who are capable of doing a lot of things. And I think I say that a lot, but I truly believe it. I think that we have come from a line of history and ancestry that we've always been able to overcome. I think when we look at our parents and a lot of, for our Tongan Americans, those who have immigrated here, I think it's just like a testimony to like what we can do with all the opportunities that we have here in America or wherever we are. I think it's just something that I'm proud of, and I think it's something that we can all do no matter what we want to do in life. I think it's just being able to consistently grow and being able to consistently achieve. I think it's something that's within all of us and in our culture and in our history.
All right. I know you're gonna be a great doctor one day. That was a speech right there. All right. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm very grateful. And everybody's watching, thank you so much for watching. And I hope everybody's having a blessed day. I'm gonna go ahead and press the stop button, and I'm gonna talk to you right after, okay? Give me 1 second.